Hey besties, it is your girl Vera is online. What is the most infuriating thing in this world? When a Phoenix man achieves fame and success thanks to your scheming and planning. His first move is to divorce you on the grounds of being too jealous. This kind of top-tier heartless scumbag who takes his wife's invisible contributions for granted, and then bites the hand that feeds him really makes you want to jump through the screen and punch him twice. But guess what? Our female lead Shen Kuo has been reborn with her memories. This lifetime, her motto is let go of the savior complex, respect others' destinies. Since you think I am too controlling and blocking your romantic prospects, then in this life, I'll personally pave you a bright and smooth road straight to the abyss. In my past life, the day I was divorced and thrown out for being too jealous, half the capital was clapping and cheering. Me mother, in-law cried and complained everywhere, saying I strictly controlled her son, wouldn't let him drink, wouldn't let him take concubines, making a high court official become the laughingstock of being henpecked. But little did the world know, my husband Chi Chong used being henpecked as the perfect excuse to deflect colleagues asking for loans, decline shady social obligations, and reject concubines sent by political enemies with ill intentions. He stepped on my reputation to rise smoothly through the treacherous officialdom. In the end, I alone bore the infamy of being a shrew and jealous wife. Not only did I anger my dearest father to death, but I also withered away in melancholy, falling ill in a damp woodshed. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the first year of my marriage to Chi Chong. It was at Prince Kang's birthday banquet. Chi Chong didn't dare publicly refuse the beauty spy sent by his superior, so just like in my previous life, he skillfully pushed me out as a shield once again. He raised his wine cup, pretending to look troubled and afraid. The beauty bestowed by your highness, this humble official naturally adores. It is just, if I truly bring her into the household, my wife at home will surely be displeased again, and scratch this humble official's face. Just as he was waiting for me to blow up and play along like usual, I directly took that beauty's delicate hand, turned my head, and smiled at him graciously and magnanimously. Since my husband loves her, I just secretly compared our birth charts, and they're quite compatible. Why don't we bring this younger sister into our household today? As soon as I finished speaking, Chi Chong's face filled with shock, frozen on the spot holding his wine cup. Not just him, everyone present was stunned. No one could believe that I, the capital's most famous vinegar jar, would actually take the initiative to get Chi Chong a concubine today. Just moments ago, after 3 rounds of drinks, Prince Kang, who held overwhelming power in the court, squinted his drunken eyes, clapped his hands, and said he wanted to give each of the lords present a little trinket. Immediately after, a group of graceful beauties filed in one by one, bowing down gracefully before each of the lords. At the banquet, everyone exchanged glances with each other, sitting on pins and needles. These beauties, not accepting them would offend Prince Kang, who harbored wolfish ambitions. Accepting them, Won feared the beauties were spies planted in the inner quarters, and two feared being settled with later by the young emperor, falling into the grave crime of forming cliques for personal gain. A timid official from the Ministry of Rights trembled as he knelt on the ground, kowtowing repeatedly and begging the prince for mercy. Your Highness's favor is too great. This humble subject truly cannot accept it. I coldly swept my gaze over that person. I clearly remembered that in my previous life, 10 days later, he would be severely injured and die in a dark alley after leaving court, attacked by several ruffians. Yet another person stammered and declined, saying he was still observing mourning for his elderly father for less than 3 years, and taking a concubine at this time would surely bring punishment from His Majesty. Prince Kang, while leisurely cutting roasted meat with a hidden knife, sneered dismissively. What is there to fear? It is not like I am telling you to take her immediately. Take her back and have her serve your elderly mother to fulfill your filial duty. Surely the young emperor won't punish you for such an act of utmost filial piety? Under such coercion, everyone tremblingly accepted the beauties. Just when the air became so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Only my dear husband Chi-chong raised his wine cup, feigning a face full of sorrow as he trotted out that all-purpose excuse. As expected, once he spoke these words of fearing his wife, the tense atmosphere at the banquet immediately relaxed considerably. Everyone started teasing him about his old habit of being afraid of his wife. Even Prince Kang couldn't help but laugh, waving his hand with a magnanimous air as if he wouldn't hold it against him. Fine, fine. Who said I must force her on you? With Lady Chi's notoriously fierce temper, how would I dare invite such displeasure? In my previous life, Chi-chong did exactly this, using me as a shield without any guilt. Declining drinking parties, declining bribes, declining all dangerous probes that concealed deadly intent. With just a casual remark about fearing his wife, he skillfully transformed a difficult crisis at court into a domestic marital dispute. Back then, I considered us husband and wife as one, even going so far as to personally draw 3 rouge scratch marks on his face, playing out the role of a fierce and jealous wife to perfection. I naively believed that as long as I could keep my husband safe and smoothly advancing at court, it didn't matter if my personal reputation was ruined. But later, Chi-chong rose steadily through the ranks to become a high official. He kicked me aside, and on the divorce letter he threw at me, the very first accusation written prominently was jealousy. In the Chi family's cold drafty woodshed, I lay sick and dying, and my father, pointed at and cursed for failing to discipline his daughter properly, ultimately died from shame and indignation. Later, the Empress Dowager, sympathizing that Chi-chong had been henpecked and suffered grievances for years, believing he must be a good husband who knows warmth and cold and cares for others, grandly betrothed her own niece to him. In all of the capital, not a single person thought Chi-chong was ungrateful. Everyone sighed that this lord who had suffered so much torment from a shrewish wife had finally found happiness after hardship. At this moment, Chi-chong before my eyes, just like in my previous life, secretly shot me a look, waiting for me to act like a jealous shrew. I quietly looked at his hypocritical face, pretending to be meek and pathetic, feeling only a wave of nauseating disgust in my stomach. I didn't even spare him a glance from the corner of my eye, directly helped up the beauty kneeling on the ground, and smiled warmly and considerately. Since my husband is fond of her, why not bring her into the household today? Everyone froze, staring at me in disbelief. Chi-chong held his wine cup, his face written all over with comical astonishment, but his mind worked extremely fast, immediately laughing awkwardly to smooth things over. Wife is jealous hearing me say, I like beauties. She is just saying things in anger. I let out a soft sigh, pulled out a silk handkerchief, and quite naturally dabbed the corners of my eyes. Everyone outside says, I am jealous, and won't let Kilang take concubines. But my husband doesn't know. Among the girls bought from human traffickers outside, how many actually have clean backgrounds and are well-behaved and worry-free? Since this younger sister was trained in the prince's manner, her background and appearance are naturally of the finest quality. As the legitimate wife, what do I have to worry about? Not giving Chi-chong even half a chance to explain further, the Prince of Kang had already slapped the table, laughing heartily and waving his hand grandly. Who dares say Lady Chi is jealous? In this prince's eyes, she is clearly a perceptive person, meticulous and virtuous. Chamberlain Chi, you must take this person home today. If your wife gets jealous later, this prince will personally back you up. In the swaying carriage on the way back to the manor, Chi-chong finally dropped his pretense and questioned me sternly, forcefully suppressing his rage. Shen Kuo, why didn't you put on an act with me as usual just now? Don't you know what kind of person the Prince of Kang is? His planted spy, you dare casually bring her home. I unhurriedly lowered the felt curtain of the carriage, blocking out the wind and snow outside, and gently coaxed him in a soft voice. Husband, calm your anger. Just now at the banquet, all your colleagues reluctantly accepted the beauties. If you alone remained aloof, Wouldn't that make you seem too high and mighty? Husband only thinks about protecting himself and distancing from Prince Kang. But have you considered whether your colleagues will isolate and ostracize you in court for being so unsociable? Chi Chong was instantly choked up and stopped speaking. He carefully weighed things in his heart for a long while and felt my words made sense. So he put on that affectionate face again, pulling my hand like before, and trying to draw me into his embrace. Ah, Quo, it is my fault for thinking too simply. These years have been hard on you. You are naturally gentle and clever. Yet for the sake of my career, you have to act out the part of a shrew with me day after day. He is happy to play a self-reproaching, devoted husband, and I am happy to continue playing a virtuous wife who puts him first in everything. Chilang, don't say such distant words. Or honor and disgrace are shared. Husband and wife are one body. What talk is there of hardship? But you must promise me, before Prince Kang's mighty tree falls, you absolutely cannot touch that beauty. Chi Chong tightly gripped my hand back, his expression solemn as he solemnly promised. The young lady Prince Kang sent over was named Meng Yan. As soon as she entered, she was casually sent off by Chi Chong to the most remote courtyard under the pretext of guarding against spies. Meng Yan initially tried to break the situation. She changed into her lightest and prettiest dress and knelt pitifully outside the study. But Chi Chong was like a monk in deep meditation, acting as if she didn't exist. She personally washed her hands and made soup, carrying the food box to deliver it. But Chi Chong wouldn't even let her through the door and directly refused to accept it. Actually, Chi Chong had never been a brainless fool who indulged in women and sex. If it weren't so, back when he was a poor scholar going to the Shen family to propose marriage, he wouldn't have singled me out from among all those beautiful sisters. Meme, who only had a reputation for talent but plain and unremarkable looks. And he wouldn't have, in his last life after rising to power and prominence, married the Empress Dowager's niece, who was as ugly as Wu Yan without hesitation in order to consolidate his position. On this day, Meng Yan once again hit a wall outside Chi Chong's study as usual, and walked back dejectedly carrying the food box. These past days, she had devoted all her attention to figuring out how to win over Chi Chong, and gradually discovered that I, the main wife, was not as harsh and fierce as the rumors suggested. So when she ran into me in the corridor now, Meng Yan only curtsied perfunctorily. "Greetings, madam." I glanced at the untouched food box she was carrying back, and knowing that Chi Chong still hadn't relented, smiled and struck up a conversation. "What delicious food did you make for the master today, sister?" Meng Yan didn't know what I was up to, so she could only obediently lift the lid of the food box. Chicken and bamboo shoot soup, oil-tossed goji berries, steamed mandarin fish. They were all dishes most revered by the capital's noble families and literati. Light and refined, showcasing exceptional knife skills. It seemed that Prince Kang had indeed spared no expense in cultivating these precious spices. In the current fashion of the capital, dishes heavy in oil and salt were disliked by the powerful and literati, who considered them food fit only for laborers at the bottom, who worked hard to make a living. But they didn't know that when Chi Chong, a poor scholar from humble origins, first arrived in the capital years ago, he was severely mocked by his colleagues as a country bumpkin for ordering a heavily oiled and sauced braised pork knuckle at a banquet. Chi Chong deeply remembered this humiliation. From then on, throughout the Chi household, only light meals were permitted, never heavy oil or rich sauces. I looked at the food box and let out a soft sigh. My lord is from Tanzhou. Before she could savor the meaning of those words, I had already wrapped my cloak around me and brushed past her. Meng Yan was an extremely clever woman. At noon the next day, I heard a little maid report from below. Chi Chong still hadn't let Meng Yan set foot in his study. But he had, for the first time ever, kept the food that Meng Yan had sent, simply because among those bland and tasteless dishes, there was one with an extremely strong flavor. Ginger spicy soup. That was the most authentic taste of Chi Chong's hometown. The roots in his bones that he could never quit. In the evening, As I sat reading under the lamp, Summoning gently knocked on my door. It was Mengyan. She pushed the door open and entered, directly kneeling on the cold floor tiles, gracefully performing a formal bow to me. Thank you, sister, for your guidance and advice during the day. As she knelt on the ground beneath the scarlet fox fur collar, a stretch of extremely fair and slender neck was revealed. Like a legendary sword just unsheathed, stunningly beautiful, yet brimming with lethal intent, making one feel intimidated at a single glance. I studied her for a moment, then turned and told my personal maid to go to my trunk and find a few of the plainest garments I had never worn to bestow upon her. When Mengyan's personal maid received the garments, the disdain in her eyes was impossible to conceal. Even Mengyan couldn't figure out what I was up to. She thought I was ultimately still warning her, deliberately making things difficult for her, wanting her to wear such coarse cloth clothes to look ugly and fall out of favor. Because those garments were simply too plain, without even the simplest embroidered pattern, clearly the kind of clothing ordinary commoner women wore for daily rough work. Mengyan clearly didn't want to dress like this to see Chi-Chong stammering as she tried to decline. Madam, these clothes, if the master asks about them. I tilted the book scroll in my hand slightly, covering half my face, and revealed a meaningful smile to her. If the master asks, just cry and tell him. It was me bullying you in the inner quarters. Mengyan froze abruptly, suddenly as if awakening from a dream, staring at me intently. Her gaze changed. It was as if the one sitting before her at this moment wasn't at all the jealous, fierce and ignorant woman from the capital's rumors, but rather an unfathomable, mastermind strategist of the highest caliber. I pulled out a few books from the bookshelf and stuffed them into her cold hands. These few books are the ones Master loves to read through most in his daily life. Mengyan immediately understood, accepting them with both hands extremely gratefully. This concubine has also read for a few years. During training at the prince's manor, he was even fortunate enough to receive guidance from several Hanlin Academy masters. I should be able to use these books to chat with Master about many insights. But I gently shook my head. No, you shouldn't chat with him. You just need to open wide those adoring eyes of yours and humbly listen to him talk. Most men in this world prefer women who are both beautiful and intelligent. However, for a phoenix man like Chi-Chong, who rose from the bottom to suddenly gain power, his self-esteem is as fragile as a sheet of window paper that breaks with one poke. In front of him, you must never display true intelligence. You only need to have some just right little cleverness that flatters him, using it to set off his great talent and bold vision, letting him be smug with satisfaction. You also must never be so beautiful that you seem unreachable and aloof. It is best to be plain, wearing simple hairpins and homespun clothes, a bare face, touched by the earthly fireworks of life. Only this way will you not wound his sensitive nerves, and not make him feel that he is unworthy of you. Mengyan carefully put away the clothes and books, completely suppressing that barely perceptible hint of contempt that had been in her eyes when they first met. She retreated outside the door and, properly and respectfully, performed a deep bow to me, her face full of reverence. This concubine dares to ask you, Madam, why is it that not only have you not suppressed me, but instead, you help me like this? I stepped forward, personally helped her up, gently tucked a strand of loose hair by her temple, and smiled more warmly than the spring breeze. Because I hope that my husband will love you as much as his own life. This is incredible. Incredible. Pham Shen Kuo's psychological warfare here is straight up. Next level dimensional reduction strike. To getting to this part, I really have to stand up and applaud wildly for the female lead. She understands so well that pitiful yet fragile masculinity deep in the bones of phoenix men like Chi-Chong. Why did Chi-Chong refuse to touch Mengyan at first no matter what? Because Mengyan was sent by a prince with overwhelming power and influence. She is refined, aloof, carrying the oppressive aura of the privileged class, which deeply wounds his nerves made sensitive by poverty, induced inferiority. So Shen Kuo taught Mengyan what hand by hand. Take off the fancy clothes and put on coarse cloth. Learn to act pitiful. Say she is being bullied by the legal wife. And whatever you do, don't show off your knowledge. Look at him with admiring eyes and humbly listen to what he says. Isn't this precisely targeting Chi-Chong's dark psychology of craving to look down on others and play the savior? Making the concubine play weak satisfies the man's protective instinct and his desire to lecture. Having the concubine say she is being bullied by the legal wife gives the man the perfect excuse to defy the wife's authority and display his masculinity. Shen Kuo is personally tailoring a perfect trap for this unfaithful man. What a mastermind. Let's keep watching how she plays this grand game. Just after sending Meng Yan away, Mama Zhou, the chamber attendant from old Madame Chi's room, lifted the curtain and came in to relay a message. In Shouan Hall, Chi-Chong's younger sister Chi-Yu and a distant cousin who came to seek refuge, Chi-Song, were sitting on the couch looking through embroidery patterns. Mama Zhou lifted the heavy draft curtain and made an announcement. Chi-Mother's eyelids just lazily twitched once. She had no intention of acknowledging me at all, because ever since I married Chi-Chong, he established an iron rule, absolutely no accepting any gifts of unknown origin, and absolutely no keeping mistresses outside. Madame Chi often complained in the inner residence by obliquely criticizing others, saying that although her nephew was merely a tiny county magistrate in some local area, her elder sister's life was even more luxurious and glorious than hers as the old madam of a vice minister. Especially last time when people from her maiden family came to visit. The ice-type jadeite bracelet with excellent quality that her elder sister wore on her wrist made Madame Chi's eyes glow green with envy, to the point she couldn't even eat. All that real gold and silver from those who wanted to use Chi-Chong's connections was blocked firmly by me outside the Chi family's gate like an iron bolt. With a belly full of wicked fire and nowhere to vent, Madame Chi could only deliberately find excuses to pick on my faults and torment me over trivial matters like the daily morning greetings. In my previous life, every time I brought this up to Chi-Chong feeling wronged, Chi-Chong would immediately darken his face and lecture me righteously. Mother was widowed in her early years and raised me with great hardship, suffering endless bitterness. She is absolutely not the kind of shallow, materialistic fool who covets wealth. Don't use your merchant's mindset to judge her. In my previous life, it was precisely because I risked infamy to return those poisonous bribes on behalf of the Chi family that they were able to remain unscathed and preserve their lives when the young emperor solidified his throne and launched massive purges against dissidents. I wonder what kind of spectacular expression will be on Chi-Chong's arrogant face in this lifetime, when he sees with his own eyes that his hardworking and selfless dear mother has been secretly amassing wealth behind his back, leading to the Chi family being raided and sentenced, resulting in their complete downfall. I stood quietly at the center of the earth for about the time it takes for a cup of tea to turn completely cold. Chi-Yu loved nothing more than watching me get humiliated in front of my mother-in-law. Propping up her chin, she gleefully winked and made faces at Chi-Song beside her. Chi-Song was an honest child. Seeing this, he quickly brought over a plate of cleanly shelled pine nuts, moved close to old Madame Chi, and gently reminded her, "Auntie, these are freshly shelled pine nuts. Please try some, sister. In-law is still standing down there." Only then did Mother Chi pretend to slowly open her eyes and mildly scold Mama Zhou beside her with feigned annoyance. "You old thing. You are really becoming more useless with age. Couldn't you announce her arrival louder? You made my good daughter-in-law wait down there for so long." I obediently kept my head lowered, quietly watching Mother Chi put on her act. Mother Chi gently brushed away the tea foam in her cup and casually launched her attack. "I heard from people outside today that you took the initiative to arrange a concubine for Chonger." "Yes?" I answered respectfully. Mother Chi's mean eyes looked me up and down with suspicion. "Didn't you used to keep Chonger on such a tight leash before, not even allowing a single female mosquito to fly into his study? What are you really up to today?" How come the sun's rising from the west and you've suddenly become so virtuous? I set down my teacup and looked up with a smile. Your daughter-in-law was thinking. A few days ago I heard mother-in-law mention that your nephew only served as county magistrate for 3 years, yet already added 3 sons and 2 daughters to his household. Your daughter-in-law has reflected on herself and thought that our Chi family really should be adding offspring and expanding our family tree. These words hit precisely on the sore spot of Mother Chi, who day and night longed to hold a chubby grandson. Completely stumped, unable to find fault with anything, she could only ask suspiciously one more time. You've seen the person yourself? Is her appearance and figure good? Is she the fertile type? I nodded with a smile. Chi-yu, who was eating pine nuts on the side, immediately rolled her eyes upon hearing this, and patted Chi-song with a grin. Need you even ask? If you randomly grabbed any woman off the street in this capital city, you'd be hard-pressed to find more than a few whose looks are plainer than my sister-in-laws. Chi-song flinched from her pat, not daring at all to go along with such a snide joke, and could only stammer while lowering her head in objection. Sister, you please don't talk nonsense. The teacher at the women's school taught us that for a woman to establish herself in the world, the most important thing is virtue among the 4 virtues of morality: speech, appearance, and work. Looks are actually the least important. After listening, Chi-yu let out an extremely harsh and contemptuous sneer. Second sister, only a fool like you would believe that. That teacher at the women's academy looks plain and ordinary herself. She says such things merely to console herself, yet you actually treat it as gospel truth? Didn't sister-in-law say she'd arrange a marriage for me in 3 months? When the time comes, open your eyes wide and see for yourself. What bullshit virtue and talent? What do they count for in front of power and wealth? Speaking of arranging marriages, in my previous life, I truly treated Chi-chong's biological younger sister Chi-yu as my own flesh and blood sister, planning meticulously for her. Those nouveaux riches, who become arrogant once they gain power. Following them means a lifetime of suffering. Can't choose them? Those extravagant and debauched sons of wealthy families. Marrying into them means swallowing needles and suffering grievances. Even more out of the question. After careful selection, I finally swallowed my pride and arranged the most satisfactory marriage for her. The Zhang family was my father's old friend. Their clan had upright and strict family traditions. Though not extremely wealthy, they had substantial farmland and shops that could ensure a lifetime free from material worries. Most precious of all, the Zhang family's descendants were all promising and willing to work hard at their studies. Completely unlike those young masters in the capital, who only knew cockfighting, dog racing, and idling about. When arranging the marriage, my sister-in-law Chi-yu bit her lower lip, her eyes full of vanity yet anxiously probing me. Sister-in-law or Chi family's foundation is shallow. I am always afraid that after marrying over, they'll look down on me. In my past life, when I heard those words, my heart softened. As a fellow woman, I could deeply sympathize with her worries about living in a prestigious household. So without hesitation, I picked out a large amount of gold, silver, and land deeds from my own dowry to add to her trousseau and boost her standing. I even swallowed my pride and privately asked the Zhang family if they could add another ship's worth of betrothal gifts for Chi-yu's sake. But I never dreamed that Chi-yu would secretly take a brush and add a stroke to that prepared betrothal gift list. 1 ship of betrothal gifts was forcibly turned into 7 ships. The Zhang family, out of consideration for their generations, old friendship with my father, didn't turn hostile on the spot. And upholding the principle that a gentleman's word is his bond, they were unwilling to vent their anger on Chi-yu before she married in. The entire Zhang clan scraped together resources from all sides, even selling off ancestral property, to barely manage to gather those 7 ships worth of insatiable betrothal gifts. When I received that hefty betrothal gift list, I naively thought the Zhang family elders valued this match highly and deliberately added more. I didn't even ask a single question, only caring about being happy that my sister-in-law had finally found a good match. And Chiyu. Without a word, she took the dowry I had bled myself dry to supplement. Along with the 7 ships of betrothal gifts, the Zhang family had scraped together by selling everything they had, and married over in grand style to become a wealthy mistress, enjoying all the benefits. Later, the elders of the Zhang family were so furious that they came to confront me indirectly. I ran to question Chiyu, but she turned the tables on me, squeezing out tears in front of everyone with a pitiful look. Sister-in-law has always been domineering, and her management of the household is absolutely authoritarian. Even my brother is afraid of her. The gift list was personally handled by her. How would I, an unmarried girl from her maiden family, dare to ask even half a question? Just like that, with one casual remark, I alone carried the infamous reputation of being profit-seeking and insatiably greedy for all eternity, and even implicated my father, causing him to completely lose the Zhang family, a decades-old family friend. After Chiyu married into the Zhang family, her true nature was fully exposed. She spent her days playing cards and drinking, being picky and difficult, throwing the entire Zhang household into chaos, turning family friends into bitter enemies. In this life, I'll keep my eyes wide open and watch carefully, without me using the Shen family's connections to help her find matches and make introductions, just relying on the Qi family's shallow foundations as newcomers to the capital, and with Mother Qi's narrow-minded nature. Let's see what kind of splendid matches she can arrange for her precious daughter. Under the lamplight, Mother Qi looked at her daughter's face, which was indeed rather beautiful, and the more she looked, the more smug and satisfied she felt. Forget it, Tonite. I'll have that concubine go serve my son in the study. Hopefully, she'll bear a child or two soon, and that'll take one worry off my mind. Tonight when you go back, write a letter to ask your father, in this capital city, are there any young men with outstanding family background and character? After all, you are the eldest sister-in-law like a mother, so you must put your heart and soul into planning Yura's marriage for me. You hear? I obediently nodded, curtsied, and withdrew from the Showan Hall. Outside, the sky had completely darkened. Thick clouds gathered densely, and fine, scattered snowflakes began to fall. Those servants and old women beside Madame Qi were accustomed to slacking off. Seeing the cold weather, they had long since hidden away in the reverse seat room, warming themselves by the charcoal fire, drinking and playing cards. I was standing in the corridor, wondering whether walking back to my courtyard in such heavy snow might make me catch a cold. Suddenly, a plain, colored oiled paper umbrella was steadily extended over my head. Sister-in-law, the snow is heavy. Let me hold the umbrella and walk back with you. It was Qisong. She was Qi Chong's distant cousin from the countryside, both parents deceased, who had come to the capital to seek refuge with the Qi family. Completely different from the brash and haughty Qiyu Qisong in daily life, was always quiet, shrinking into corners like a silent shadow. But it was precisely this unremarkable, submissive girl. But in my previous life, when I was sick, and on my last breath, heartlessly cast out by the Qi family, she was like an enraged little lion, bravely spreading her arms to shield me, crying as she loudly condemned Qi Mother and Qi Chong for their ingratitude. It is just a pity that as an orphaned girl living under someone else's roof who hadn't yet married, her words were light as a feather, carrying no weight at all. During those final days when I was seriously ill and locked in the woodshed, only she risked being beaten by Qi Mother to secretly come feed me medicine with reddened eyes, constantly murmuring about how good I had been to her in the past. Actually, I don't think I was particularly good to her. I can only say that in this callous and snobbish household, as the mistress, I never treated her harshly. Hand warmers and cotton clothes distributed in winter, cooling drinks in heat, clearing medicine pills in summer. Whatever allowances Chiyu received, I always distributed evenly, giving Qisong the same share as well. Chi didn't care for these ordinary items from the standard allowances at all, often beating and scolding the servants, but Chi would always carefully put them away. Then personally run to my courtyard to earnestly express her gratitude. Such a good girl who knows how to repay kindness. Yet after I died of illness, she was sent by the greedy mother Chi in a small sedan chair, like selling livestock, to an old marquis on his deathbed as a replacement wife, and eventually died miserably in the struggles of the inner residence. She looked at the dim yellow lamp lit in my room, and my thoughtful expression in the snow. She thought that I was sad and upset, because Chi Chong was taking a concubine for the first time tonight. Chi Song gripped the umbrella handle tightly, mustered her courage, and asked extremely softly, "Sister dash in dash law dot dot dot. It is cold outside. Can I squeeze into your bed tonight?" Outside the wind and snow howled. Inside the room the candle wick crackled and popped, popped and crackled. I blew out the lamp and tucked in the quilt corners for Chi Song. In the darkness, she suddenly spoke in a muffled voice. "Sister-in-law, actually I've never understood. You are the precious daughter of the Shen family. Back then those from high and noble families who came to propose marriage must have been as numerous as cattle. Why on earth did you marry down to my brother? And why, all these years have you insisted on pretending to be so fierce?" In the darkness, her eyes were astonishingly bright, as if she could see through all my disguises and schemes at a glance. This question made my hand tucking in her quilt corners suddenly freeze. Chi Song was right. The Shen family of Zhongnan specializes in producing exceptionally beautiful women. Therefore, the female cousins in the clan had no trouble marrying into wealthy and powerful families. Except for me. I didn't inherit the Shen family's signature appearance, and by the time I reached marriageable age, my doorstep was deserted. There wasn't even a matchmaker coming to propose marriage. Even those clients who usually came to ask my father for favors could only awkwardly rack their brains upon seeing my looks, forcing out a strained compliment. "The Shen family's daughter looks quite ... delicate ... quote. The turning point in my life came when I was 13 years old. At that time, the Empress Dowager was ruling from behind the curtain. My father's mentor sect, for the sake of their so-called integrity as upright officials, stubbornly pressured my father to write a denunciation, publicly condemning the Empress Dowager. However, those Hothead who had written denunciations before either had their heads removed, or had their families raided and were exiled to Ninguda. Me father was forced into a corner with no way out. He worried so much that he didn't sleep all night, and most of his hair turned white. Just at dawn, he entered the study and presented with both hands a denunciation with ink still wet. After reading it, my father's face was full of confusion and fear. "Ah quo. The Empress Dowager is a regent usurping power. Why would you insist on harping on those four-word seductive enchantress to viciously scold her in the denunciation?" I looked at my father, not knowing how to explain to him. "Because I am not pretty. And that high and mighty Empress Dowager wasn't actually beautiful either. The reason she was able to fight her way out and win the late emperor's exclusive favor relied entirely on her exceptional skills and intelligence. I don't remember how many scholars under father's patronage praised me for being smart. But I remember crystal clear that there were 2 guests who didn't know their place, who insincerely complimented me on being pretty. Sure enough, after the Empress Dowager saw that memorial full of insults calling her a fox seductress, who bewitched the ruler, not only did she not fly into a rage, she actually pointed at the memorial and burst out laughing. She even circulated the memorial to her trusted confidants, and then, unprecedentedly, rewarded father with a basket of extremely precious fresh cherries from the western regions. As for those upright civil officials who also wrote memorials denouncing her abuse of power, they didn't have such good luck. Demoted and exiled, pulling out the radish brings out the mud. Father, having narrowly escaped death, would tearfully praise to everyone he met. If my Akuo were a man, in the future when ennobled as a marquis, or appointed as prime minister, there would surely be another earth. shattering destiny. It was also from that incident onward that the Shen family's door was nearly trampled through by matchmakers coming to propose marriage. Looking at the mountain of visiting cards, father once again began worrying for me. These noble family sons who are so eager to come forward. I really don't know whether they actually want to marry a wife who treats them as equals and knows both cold and warmth, or for the sake of their family's future, marry a female strategist who can help them rise smoothly through the ranks. I held down father's hand and said calmly, "Don't worry, father. Your daughter has her own plan." That year, the peach blossoms at Pilu Temple bloomed all over the mountains, radiant and magnificent. Father used the excuse of spring outings and flower viewing to reserve a courtyard in the temple, secretly arranging viewings for me. Those conceited sons of wealthy families had their hearts set on the Shen family's illustrious status, and on my unparalleled brilliance in saving my father with a single letter. They crowded around father, and that beautiful maid dressed in luxurious clothes, pretending to be me, doing everything possible to curry favor, just like peacocks displaying their feathers. And I, wearing a simple cloth dress with a thorn hairpin, hid in a small pavilion by the lake not far away, covering my face with a book of poetry, watching coldly from the sidelines. Chi Chong appeared at this very moment. He came from a humble family, wearing a blue cloth robe washed until it was pale. He didn't shamelessly squeeze in to chat and mingle with those silk-clad jade, wearing young masters and ladies. Instead, he walked alone to the lakeside, shyly bowing deeply to me in my village girl attire. His face flushed, softly asking what book I was reading. A gentle breeze blew past, scattering peach blossoms from the branches, onto the shimmering lake surface, and also onto my heart that had never been noticed by anyone, stirring ripples layer upon layer. Now, living my second life, looking back and thinking carefully, how could a 15-year-old poor boy not have deep-seated inferiority and an extreme desire to prove himself through arrogance? Among a bunch of beautiful sisters, I was deeply insecure about my own appearance. Among a bunch of classmates who were either rich or noble, he was deeply insecure about his own background. Yet we were both extremely arrogant in believing that our unmatched talent was absolutely better than any pretty face in the world, better than all fine clothes and luxuries. In the end, this ill-fated relationship between Chi Chong and me, from the very beginning, it was nothing more than two equally insecure yet extremely arrogant people admiring their reflections by the lake, putting on a ridiculous show in an illusion called mutual appreciation. The next day at noon, the sky was so overcast it seemed like it would press down on us. The old woman guarding the gate below suddenly came rushing over with a message, saying that the main household of the Li family had sent a steward to deliver pastries and holiday gifts, and the old madam told me to hurry to the front hall to receive them. Chi Chong was currently in the Ministry of Revenue, in charge of grain and supply allocation for the frontline army. And this Lai family was the premier grain merchant in the capital. They had long been eyeing this fat piece of meat, trying every means possible to gnaw down Chi Chong. This tough bone, military grain procurement. The vicious schemes that could be used and the profits that could be skimmed were simply astronomical. Kicking the measuring bucket to spill grain, passing off inferior goods as quality ones, adding extra charges during collection. As long as Chi Chong was willing to loosen things up even a crack, the entire II family could feast until their mouths dripped with oil. In the past, this kind of dirty work that offended people always fell to me. I was the one who stuck my neck out, the one who played the heartless villain. All those lavish gifts sent our way were rejected by me along with the people who brought them, turned away at the door. For this, I don't know how many times Chi's mother cursed me behind my back. But today was different. I reclined on the couch, using yesterday's snow as an excuse, claiming I'd caught a chill from the cold, and directly feigned illness to avoid going out. I only kept Shisong in the room, patiently teaching her embroidery. After a while, the old servant woman came running back to report, pursing her lips as she said the gift list only contained things like yam cakes, sorghum steamed buns, cassava balls. All these country products too crude to present in polite company. When Chi's mother saw this shabby gift list, first she looked down on it from the bottom of her heart. And second, she didn't have the guts to secretly accept gifts behind Chi Chong's back. So just like I used to do, she returned everything untouched. I leaned against the pillow, holding hot tea in my hand, just slowly skimming off the tea foam, not saying a word. Outside, the Lai family steward was invited in to visit the sick. That steward was a shrewd old fox, smiling with a face full of fawning eagerness. I heard Madam's precious health is unwell. My eldest mistress said we absolutely must come see you. I put down my teacup and gave her a weak smile. It is nothing serious. Just caught a bit of a chill in the snowy weather. 2 or 3 days of rest and I'll be fine. I heard that Mother just glanced at the gift list earlier and then drove you all out? Well, in the past, all the social exchanges in the household were handled entirely by me alone. Mother, bless her, has never dealt with these matters in her whole life, and doesn't understand the ways of it. Please forgive any offense. A flash of embarrassment quickly crossed the Lai family steward's face, but when she looked up and saw the warm smile on my face, it didn't seem like I was mocking or reprimanding her. As she lifted the cotton door curtain to exit the room, she was still carefully mulling over the deeper meaning of my earlier words. Suddenly, her eyes lit up, and she immediately turned to urge the maid beside her who was holding the gift box. Quick, hand me the food box. I am going to Shuan Hall again to see the old madam. The food box was opened once more and placed before Grandmother Chi. Inside, where were any yam cakes, sorghum buns, or cassava balls? There were clearly neatly stacked pure silver ingots, gleaming golden yuanbao, and top-grade pearl strings the size of pigeon eggs, flawless and lustrous. Grandmother Chi's breathing instantly became heavy. Those cloudy eyes of hers were like they had grown hooks, firmly fixed on those plump white silver ingots and rich pearls, unable to pull away no matter what. That day, she ultimately steeled her heart, closed her eyes, and didn't dare reach out that hand. In the evening, Mother Chi was so distressed that she had no appetite for dinner. She only drank half a small bowl of plain porridge before lying down on the bed early, sighing deeply and frequently. Chi Song sat under the lamp helping me wind the thread into a ball, chatting somewhat puzzled. Sister, in-law, you've returned many expensive gifts to people before, but I've never seen Auntie this heartbroken. I smiled. This time was, of course, different. Before, she had only heard me say that I refused bribes from outside. To a sheltered old woman from the inner quarters who had never seen the world, she simply couldn't imagine what those bribes actually meant. But this time, not only did she see the temptation of real gold and silver with her own eyes, she also pushed them away with her own hands. In the heart of a greedy person, this was no different from someone forcibly snatching this huge sum of money that belonged to her right out of her pocket. How devastated Mother Chi must feel right now was easy to imagine. Steward Lee was a shrewd person among shrewd people. After this test, she must have keenly discovered that the Chi family's backyard, which had been solid as iron and watertight under Shen Kuo's control, finally had an ant-hole that could breach the dam. I had only feigned illness for a few days when Father Having somehow heard some rumors. Suddenly sent a trusted aide to deliver a secret letter. The letter said, things like the glory of a promising future for the husband's family and the empty reputation of being virtuous and gentle were all deceptive illusions. Only my child's good health, safety, and happiness were what mattered most in Father's heart. Looking at the familiar handwriting on the paper, my eyes suddenly welled up with heat. I picked up my brush and wrote back to Father to let him know I was safe. I thought, once I tighten this net, get the divorce letter from Chi Chong, and completely escape from the hellhole that is the Chi family, I'll be able to return to Jiangnan and serve Father at his knee with filial devotion. I turned my head to look beside me. The lamplight was like a bean. Chi Song was quietly practicing calligraphy with her wrist suspended. Her lowered brows and eyes at this moment gradually overlapped with the silhouette from my past life's memories. The one with reddened eyes, spooning life, saving medicine into my mouth one spoonful at a time. Thinking of my previous life, when she spread her arms wide and stood firmly in front of me, angrily rebuking Chi-Chong with her slender figure. My heart stirred heavily, and I immediately formed a plan. I picked up my brush and added a few more lines to the family letter about to be sealed. Father May, I ask when Uncle Zhang from our family friends will arrive in the capital. If there is time, the younger generation of both families should visit each other more often. Just as I was about to drip red wax to seal it, the head maid suddenly came running to report with an urgent expression. Madam, the master is reading in his study tonight, and just now. Just now he called Miss Yan from the side courtyard to attend to his brush and ink. One incense sticks time later, I led a group of maids and matrons, in a grand procession with torches blazing, and raided Chi-Chong's study. In the study, Meng Yan knelt on the blue brick floor crying pitifully, her tears flowing like pear blossoms in the rain, a picture of utter vulnerability that would move anyone to pity. Yet every word from her mouth was expertly designed to absolve Chi-Chong of blame. Madam, please calm your anger. Whatever wrongs there are, they're all Yanner's fault. It is because Yanner is truly foolish. The master only took pity on my tragic background and graciously allowed me to stay by his side to attend to his writing materials. Madam, please don't let this upset you so much. Yanner will leave right away. Chi-Chong sat in his grand armchair, his expression so dark it seemed water could drip from his face. He forcefully suppressed his anger at having his tryst interrupted, his tone carrying obvious impatience as he glanced coldly at me. Shenkuo, what madness is this? I merely asked her to grind some ink, and you bring all these people barging in making such a scene. What is the meaning of this? I immediately put on an expression of heartfelt distress, stepped forward reaching out to take his arm, and said softly, Don't be upset with me, husband. She is of lowly birth after all, and came from that kind of place. I am just worried that someone with such a complicated background might have restless intentions and defile your sacred study. Those 4 words, lowly birth, were like an extremely sharp poisoned needle, stabbing viciously into the heart of Chi-Chong, who also came from a humble background. He violently shook off my hand and jumped up like a cat whose tail had been stepped on, glaring at me with a face full of mockery. Shenkuo, stop with your insinuations. When it comes to noble birth, who in the entire Qi family can compare to you? The famous young lady of the Shen family. He shoved me so hard I stumbled, my face pale as I put on an act of being extremely wronged while trying to explain myself. But Chi-Chong had completely lost it. He projected all the frustration he'd endured over the years in official circles, being looked down upon for his humble origins and suffering the cold stares of aristocratic families, entirely onto Meng Yan kneeling on the ground. He pointed at Meng Yan and roared at me. Look at her, she is dressed worse than even the lowest servant in this household, and I heard you are sending her to work as a kitchen drudge. Now that you are here, she is trembling like a quail in fear. This shows just how arrogant, domineering, and heartless you, Shenkuo, have been in the inner residence all this time. I didn't look at the furious Chi-Chong. I only looked down from above, coldly staring at Meng Yan's face that appeared especially delicate and alluring from crying, and mercilessly ordered, Since you've displeased the master so greatly, you are to kneel in the Qi family's ancestral hall for 3 days and 3 nights. During that time, copy the admonitions for women, and the Qi family rules 100 times each. If you miss a single character, you won't be allowed to eat. Hearing such severe punishment, Chi-Chong was just about to speak up and stop me. Meng Yan, who had been kneeling on the ground all along, acted extremely sensibly by shuffling forward on her knees, tearfully clutching Chi-Chong's sleeve tightly, and wordlessly, pitifully shaking her head at him, that enduring and yielding appearance with glistening tears and a broken look. Forget men, even I felt my heart melt more than halfway watching it. As I turned to leave the study with Meng Yan, a deafening crash came from behind. It was the sound of Chi Chong violently smashing the expensive porcelain on his desk to the ground. In the gloomy and solemn ancestral hall, Meng Yan knelt on a rough rush cushion. After hesitating for a long time, she finally couldn't help but speak. "Madam, I carried the food box and ran over for so many days. And finally today, the master softened his heart and let me enter the study to serve him closely. Originally tonight, I was 100% sure I could win the master over. I waved my hand in an unhurried manner, dismissing most of the servants on duty outside the ancestral hall, leaving only 2 deaf and dim-sighted old women dozing off at the courtyard gate. Then, I personally extinguished most of the candles in the ancestral hall, leaving only the solitary lamp on Meng Yan's desk, whose lamp oil was about to run out. By around the time the moon reaches the treetops, this lamp will completely burn out and go dark. Things that are too easy for men to get, men will too easily forget." I gazed at the flickering candlelight, my voice eerily cold. "Tonight, you trust me, the master will definitely come looking for you like a madman. Just make sure to copy this assignment even more pitifully." Meng Yan, however, looked worried all over her face, not believing my certainty at all. "Madam, how can you be so sure? What if the master can't swallow his pride and doesn't come tonight? He will definitely come. He will definitely be like a hot-headed young boy under the strict watch of stern elders, harboring an extremely thrilling sense of forbidden transgression, sneaking over the courtyard wall. He'll carefully avoid the maids and servants on duty, and in the dead of night, go for a secret rendezvous with his poor yet resilient sweetheart, who has suffered endless torment from his legitimate wife. By then, all the lamps and candles in the ancestral hall will be extinguished. In the darkness, he'll only be able to hear his own heart pounding violently, like beating drums from running all the way here. That sound of a heartbeat from breaking taboos and rules is exactly like the crazy infatuation of youth. And the solemn and oppressive ancestral tablets in the ancestral hall, with their stark black and white, will add an extremely fatal catalytic touch to this clandestine meeting that can't see the light of day. After he sheds his disguise in this solemn place and methodically puts on that layer of official robes, he'll transform back into that sanctimonious gentleman of virtue. He would hold you tenderly on his lap, grasp your hand, and stroke by stroke, help you copy the heavy assignments punished by that vicious legal wife. The Chi family rules had a full 300 characters. Every character he copied for you silently reminded him. In this struggle against convention and authority, he was your only accomplice, and your only savior. Because men like him, with both deep-seated inferiority and extreme narcissism in their bones, don't actually love anyone. They only love themselves. What he loved was the version of himself who could elope for true love at midnight, who could fearlessly fight against authority for the weak. Only incidentally did he love you, who served as that prop. Sure enough, for the next 3 full days, Chi Chong used the excuse of being busy with official duties to sleep in his study every night, and even strictly ordered that no servants were allowed to attend to him. And I sat in the warm inner chamber, flipping through the stacks of family rules in Chi Chong's handwriting that Meng Yan delivered on time every morning. I just found it amusing. Just then, the head lady steward of the Lai family trading company, unwilling to give up her schemes, came to visit again under the pretext of visiting the sick, carrying heavy gifts. Extremely coincidentally, in my courtyard today, there happened to be a guest of considerable importance. The wife of Chi Chong's former mentor, old Madame Jian. Front of old Madame Ji, he didn't see the Lai family people at all. I simply declined with a smile through the window screen. "Manager Lee, please go back." The wind and snow were heavy that night, and Mother's appetite has suddenly become extremely poor these past few days. She can't eat any greasy or heavily nourishing foods. As for me, I am doing much better now. Since you've brought gifts, why not go directly to Show and Hall and check on my mother for me instead? With just a few words, I sent this hot potato from the Lai family straight into the greedy, bottomless pit that was Chi Mother, all perfectly justified. watching Manager Lee's back as he walked joyfully toward Shuan Hall. I finally turned around and let out a deep sigh toward old Madam G, pulling out my handkerchief to mournfully dab at the corners of my eyes. Old Madam G was an extremely old-fashioned but kind-hearted elder, who was especially fond of the younger generation. Seeing me in such a state, she quickly asked with concern, "What is wrong all of a sudden? How did you start crying while we were talking?" I didn't say anything, only silently handed the stack of family instructions copied by Chi Chong to old Madam G. Then, with tears streaming down, I recounted in detail how Chi Chong defied his lawful wife for the sake of a concubine, how he secretly met with her in the middle of the night, and all his outrageous behavior protecting Meng Yan. At first, old Madam G only patted the back of my hand, consoling me earnestly. Since ancient times, men having multiple wives and concubines has always been normal, telling me as the principal wife to be more open-minded and not to hurt the marital bond over competing for favor. The old madam is right. It is this daughter-in-law who lacks generosity. I suddenly shifted the conversation, lowering my voice extremely. But that beauty was a spy the prince forcibly sent over from the Prince of Kang's manor at the banquet a few days ago. Chi Chong is old Master G's most accomplished disciple. What if this pillow talk goes on for too long? Upon hearing the 3 words Prince of Kang's manor, relating to the G clan's political standing and the lives of the entire family, the smile on old Madam G's face instantly froze, unable to utter another word. Not giving her any time to think it through, I immediately wiped away my tears and abruptly cut off this dangerous topic. Ah, look at me. Why am I bringing up these upsetting matters with you for no reason? The reason I shamelessly invited you to the manor today is actually for the happy occasion of the 2 children in the family. I brought up the matter that Chi Song and Chi Yu had both turned 16 and reached the age where marriages should be arranged. I, as their sister-in-law, am young and inexperienced. I only ask that when the time comes, old Madam Yu could appear in person to be a witness of complete blessings for the children. Old Madam G's mind had long since flown off to the 9th cloud. How could she still have the mood to care about this trivial matter of being a marriage witness? Her head was full of thoughts about that seductive beauty sent by the Prince of Kang's manor. If Chi Chong was really dragged into the water by the Prince of Kang's manor, it would not only ruin old Master G's lifelong reputation of integrity, but could even bring catastrophic disaster to the entire G clan in future political struggles. As for this trivial matter of being a wedding witness, she absent-mindedly agreed to it carelessly, then hastily made up an excuse to head back home and discuss countermeasures with old Master G. That evening, an inconspicuous dish of wild vegetable and meat wontons suddenly appeared on the Marquis Manor's dinner table. I casually asked about it, and Mother Chi's eyes darted away as she vaguely said that it was wild vegetables the Lai family's steward had dug up outside the city herself. Not worth much money, but she insisted on sending over a basket for us to try something fresh. I didn't take hers for nothing either. I sent back several packages of premium dried fruits, so it is not like I am taking advantage of anyone, Mother Chi added, trying to cover up the truth. Seeing that I just smiled and drank my soup without interrogating her severely as I usually would, Mother Chi's tense nerves finally relaxed completely, because she knew that in the past, at even the slightest hint of accepting bribes, I would immediately break it down and explain in detail the serious implications it had for court politics, nipping problems in the bud and killing that tendency outright. Now seeing my tacit approval, that little bit of opportunistic greed in Mother Chi's heart began to grow wildly like bamboo shoots after spring rain. For the next half-month, I deliberately feigned illness and stayed in, using the excuse that my cold had worsened, and I was afraid of passing my sickness to my mother-in-law. I kept to cooking in the small kitchen in my own courtyard. But the informant I had secretly planted would report the goings on at Showan Hall to me every day. I heard that the food standards in Chi Mother's quarters skyrocketed at a visibly rapid pace, becoming increasingly extravagant by the day. At first, it was just common seasonal wild vegetables, fresh melons and fruits, and delicate pastries and candied treats from the market. Later on, she brazenly started eating hothouse lotus seeds and cherries that were more expensive than gold in the dead of winter, as well as Yangtze finless porpoises and shad fish rushed into the capital by express horses. These days, I simply had no time to concern myself with Chi Mother's extravagant and debauched diet, much less no time to care about who Chi Mother was secretly associating with behind Chi Chong's back. Because my dear husband Chi Chong was summoned to the study by his mentor, Old Master Ji, who pointed at his nose and severely berated him. He returned home with a dark expression, kicked open my door, and pointed at my nose while making a huge scene. Shen Kuo, if you hadn't gossiped and bad-mouthed me in front of the old lady, how would my mentor have found out about these trivial household matters? I met his gaze without backing down, my eyes full of bone, chilling mockery and contempt. Chi Chong, have you been sitting in your official position for so long that you actually believe you climbed to where you are today by your own extraordinary talent? In these 5 years, which crisis wasn't resolved by me scheming behind the scenes for you, protecting your life and ensuring your meteoric rise, you don't really think that with your humble origins and complete lack of connections, you are enough to make that kind of stunning beauty cultivated by Prince Kang's manor fall for you at first sight, and remain devoted to you. Do you? During the 5 years from our engagement to marriage, every step Chi Chong took in the treacherous imperial court was a path I painstakingly paved for him with my blood and sweat. In my previous life, I thought I had everything planned out perfectly, even going so far as to ruin my own reputation by playing the shrew, all just to preserve my husband's life and future. But I was foolish enough not to notice, when I was in the study, calmly vetoing some of his idiotic decisions, beneath Chi Chong's admiring gaze lay something far more sinister, deep jealousy, and the profound humiliation of being suppressed by a woman. Me merciless words directly tore off his most hypocritical mask. Chi Chong stopped talking. People like him, when pushed to their limit and hit at their most unbearable weak spot, would instead fall into a deathly silence. I continued to press harder, planting the most lethal seed of doubt in his heart. These past few days, I've had people watching her. I found that Mengyan always sneaks out furtively around dusk. Whether or not she is going out to pass your confidential information to Prince Kang, you know better than I do. A sleeper agent like her, raised and kept for this purpose, will definitely cling to you with every trick in the book for a lifetime of wealth and glory. Tonight, you and I will quietly follow her together. When the time comes, we'll catch the thief red-handed with the evidence. Let's see what face she'll have left to stay in the Chi family. With his life fortune and career prospects at stake, although I had Chi Chong fuming with rage, he simply couldn't refute my proposal, because subconsciously, he knew that when it came to judging the political situation, Yi Shenkuo had never been wrong. At the dinner table that evening, I personally cooked, taking out dish after dish from the food box and placing them before Chi Chong. Looking at those dishes that were once highly praised by the noble families of the capital, but now so bland and tasteless that they killed any appetite. For the first time in front of me, Chi Chong dropped all pretense, revealing without concealment an extremely dejected and exhausted expression. He raised his head, staring straight at me with complicated eyes. Shen Kuo, back then when we first met at Pilu Temple, when you agreed to my marriage proposal, was it really because you had feelings for me? My hands didn't stop moving as I smiled sweetly, using the serving chopsticks to place food on his plate. Then, what was your reason for proposing marriage back then, husband? Let's eat. This meal, we ate with hidden agendas, tasting like wax. By evening, things turned out just as I expected. The gatekeeper came to report that Mengyan, wearing a dark gray hooded cloak, had slipped out through the side door in a hurry. Chi Chong and I hid in the shadows, following her all the way, watching her pass through 2 alleys and head straight toward the Prince Kang's manor. We let out a rather smug, cold laugh in perfect coordination. See, I didn't wrongly accuse her, did I? However, Meng Yan didn't walk toward that vermilion gate of Prince Kang's manor. With a turn of her body, she actually slipped into an extremely concealed, inconspicuous commoner's medical clinic. Seeing Chi Chong frozen in place, I added another sinister jab. Well, makes sense. Going directly to the manor to make contact would be too obvious and easily draw attention. A medical clinic is indeed a good place. However, when Chi Chong could no longer contain his rage and kicked open the worn wooden door of the clinic with one foot, what appeared before his eyes was not some contact or secret agent, only a terrified female physician, and Meng Yan sitting in a chair silently weeping with a pale face. Hearing the door, seeing Chi Chong's furious face, Meng Yan panicked to the extreme, grabbing the paper on the table to hide it in her sleeve. This guilty look of hers completely enraged Chi Chong. He lunged forward in one swift motion, gripping her delicate wrist tightly and forcefully shaking out that piece of paper. "What the hell are you plotting behind my back?" The thin piece of paper in her sleeve fluttered down like a falling leaf onto the blue brick floor. Chi Chong looked down and saw clearly the words on the paper. His body swayed violently as he stared in disbelief at Meng Yan with her red, swollen eyes. It wasn't some secret letter passing confidential information, nor was it an improper note for a private rendezvous. It was shockingly a prescription for an extremely damaging abortion medicine. Chi Chong was completely stunned, his voice trembling. You are with child." Meng Yan bit down hard on her lip, crying her heart out, unable to utter a single word, only shaking her head desperately. "You are carrying my flesh and blood, and not only do you not tell me, you even dare to sneak out and get this vicious medicine?" Meng Yan collapsed weakly onto the ground, dropping her head in despair, perfectly exposing that fair and slender neck of hers. That posture resembled exactly a beautiful swan stretching its neck for slaughter. A concubine of such humble birth as myself. If I were to give birth to an illegitimate son, I fear it would bring ridicule upon you in court, and would also put Madam in a difficult position later. It would be better to just act as if he never came at all. This move of retreating to advance was a fatal blow that struck straight at Chi Chong's soul. The rage in Chi Chong's heart instantly transformed into overwhelming guilt and tenderness. He pulled Meng Yan tightly into his embrace, his eyes reddening. "Nonsense. You are carrying my own flesh and blood, Chi Chong's child. Why should you have to read anyone's expression? From now on, you'll move into my courtyard and live with me. This is my eldest son. Let's see who in this entire Chi residence dares to look down on him even the slightest." As he helped Meng Yan past me, Chi Chong's eyes even carried a kind of secret delight and smugness, as if he'd finally caught me in the act. "Shen Kuo, do you see? Not everyone in this world is as sinister, vicious, and calculating as you are." In order to comfort the frightened and pregnant Meng Yan, Chi Chong broke from his usual frugality and ordered the capital's finest tailor shop to send over an entire array of luxurious silks and satins, and even personally went to the jewelry building to purchase many priceless gold and silver ornaments for her. He even completely guarded against me, handing over all the private savings he'd accumulated over the years in officialdom, and several secret property deeds to Meng Yan for safekeeping. However, faced with these overwhelming riches falling from the sky, Meng Yan didn't accept a single thing. Then, on an extremely clear afternoon, Meng Yan took advantage of everyone's afternoon rest to quietly leave the Qi Manor. Just like when she arrived, she didn't disturb anyone. All she left for Chi Chong was a note on the desk with delicate handwriting, yet mottled from tear stains. "Don't want to put Chi Lang in a difficult position. Don't think of me." When Chi Chong returned from court and saw the empty room, he collapsed dejectedly into the chair by the desk. Those expensive dresses were neatly folded and placed on the bed. The luxurious jewelry was organized by category in the vanity case. That thick stack of banknotes and property deeds was not missing a single one, all laid flat and held down by a paperweight on the desk. All the wealth and glory in this room worth a fortune. She didn't take any of it with her. The only thing she took was that stack of worthless Qi family rules that Qi Chong had copied for her stroke by stroke while holding her hand in the ancestral hall. The story of how Qi Chong abandoned his legal wife for a concubine gifted by Prince Kang, only to end up with an empty house and a lost soul spread like wildfire throughout the entire capital's elite circles. Qi Song looked at my calm expression and cautiously moved closer to lean against me. Sister-in-law, don't feel sad over that kind of person. If you've had enough and want a divorce, I'll definitely be on your side. I'll testify for you. I smiled and patted Qi Song's fluffy head. Silly girl, I haven't arranged a good match for you yet. How could I easily agree to a divorce? In father's reply a few days ago, he said that young master from the Zhang family who has been studying abroad will return to the capital by the end of February. Come March, Pailu Temple will hold a grand spring incense festival, and many prestigious families in the capital will bring their relatives to enjoy the spring outing. By then, we can arrange for the Zhang and Qi families to discreetly size each other up at the festival. What extremely surprised me was that at the end of the letter, father quite unusually asked an additional question. My child, you've mentioned the Zhang family repeatedly in your letters. Do you intend to arrange a marriage proposal for one of the young ladies of the Qi family? In my reply, I generously praised Qi Song's gentle nature and gratitude. Father could tell at a glance that I intended to bring together Qi Song and the Zhang family's young master, and didn't ask much about family status. He only included a package with the letter, instructing me to get Qi Song more presentable clothing and jewelry, so she wouldn't be outshone during the meeting. I naturally intended to dress up Qi Song properly, but looking at those gorgeous fabrics, Qi Song's voice, though soft, was unusually firm in her refusal. Sister-in-law, there is no need to spend more on me. Tomorrow when we go to offer incense, I'll just wear my ordinary clothes. I was originally an orphan with both parents dead, living under someone else's roof. My family background was already humble. Being able to eat my fill and dress warmly at the Qi residence is all thanks to sister-in-law's compassionate heart. If I were to indulge in vanity and dress luxuriously today, when I return to the residence tomorrow, I'd still be wearing simple hairpins and plain skirts. Such a mismatch between my virtue and position would inevitably attract the jealousy and resentment of petty people, and instead cause trouble for sister-in-law. She lived too soberly and was too cautious. Looking at the other side, on the other hand, over the past half-year, Qiyu had been following Madame Qi, hiding in Xuan Hall every day, eating all kinds of delicacies from land and sea, forcibly turning her originally rather slender figure plump and round by a large margin. Not only did Madame Qi not feel anything was wrong, she even searched everywhere for the people's wealth and fat, lavishly spending thousands of gold to have over 10 sets of the most fashionable and luxurious new clothes tailored for Qiyu, and even had several sets of pure gold jewelry inlaid with gems made. Looking this way and that, Madame Qi still felt it wasn't grand enough. In the end, she actually steeled her heart and forcibly placed that pair of heavy top-quality, imperial green jade bracelets, obtained as bribes from the Lai family, onto Qiyu's wrists. Those jade bracelets had excellent water content. So green they seemed ready to drip oil. Such peerless treasures, let alone ordinary merchants, probably even the imperial treasury might not be able to pick out 2 pairs of such perfect quality. Mother Qi looked at Qiyu, who was decked out in jewels and treasures like a nouveau riche, and proudly showed off to me. Look at our Yuer's lavish appearance. Those poor boys from shabby families will probably be too scared to even approach her when they see this bracelet. Shen Kuo, you should also help Yuer keep a good eye out today. Ansar Yuer catches a high-status match and secures a prestigious marriage. For your sake, I'll be magnanimous and help persuade Chonger not to divorce his wife over that mistress. I suppressed my laughter and obediently nodded in agreement. In my previous life, I racked my brains trying to pick a good husband for Qiyu. After careful selection, I finally settled on the son of our old friends, the Zhang family. That boy was steady and reserved, upright in character. Although he wasn't good at sweet-talking women after marriage, he very responsibly entrusted all of the Zhang family's household management and private assets to Qiyu, without reservation. Even though those 7 ships of exorbitant betrothal gifts nearly drained the Zhang family that year, no one blamed this bad debt on Qiyu. Nor did anyone mistreat her even for a moment. But what about Qiyu? Deep down, she was the type who craved vanity and wealth while looking down on poverty. She utterly despised the dull, gourd-like temperament of the Zhang family's son, thinking him weak, easily bullied, and utterly boring. After the marriage, she spent her days in the inner quarters playing cards and drinking, constantly nitpicking and complaining, stirring up the Zhang household until there was no peace. Chickens and dogs couldn't rest, not a single day of tranquility. In this lifetime, I want to see for myself. Without the generous and tolerant Zhang family backing her up, relying only on the frivolous attitude that mother and daughter have developed from being fed with money, what kind of perfectly satisfactory excellent match can Qiyu possibly secure for herself? In the 3rd month at Pilu Temple, peach and plum blossoms competed in beauty and fragrance. The incense offerings flourished, and mist swirled all around. Inside the pavilion, that tall and jade, like young master of the Zhang family, maintaining a proper distance of several zhang away, very respectfully bowed to us from afar in greeting. Qiyu was fiddling with the jade bracelet on her wrist, sizing up young Master Zhang from head to toe. Seeing that he wore only a plain Hangzhou silk robe washed until it was faded white, without even a single piece of mutton, fat jade to display wealth anywhere on his person. Qiyu immediately showed disdain all over her face, the contempt in her eyes impossible to hide. She instantly lost interest and tugged at Mother Qi's hand, clamoring to go stroll through the peach blossom grove behind the mountain. I went along with it, and had the 2 most capable old ladies by Madame Qi's side follow her closely, lest her frivolous and ostentatious nature cause some trouble at the incense gathering, where dignitaries were assembled. In the pavilion, only the 3 of us remained. Myself, Qi Song, and the young master from the Zhang family. Although no one disturbed us, it was so quiet that even the sound of breeze brushing through willow branches and petals falling to the ground could be heard. This awkward scene, I had actually anticipated before coming. Qi Song was a girl with a quiet disposition and cautious nature, while this child from the Zhang family was famously wooden and taciturn. If these 2 were put together, they would only play dumb charades with each other, never finding common ground, neither taking a liking to the other. Even the best marriage match cannot force a cow's head down to drink water. Sure enough, after sitting here idly for quite a while, the 2 hadn't even managed a single polite remark. I really couldn't stand watching anymore, thinking to take the initiative to start a conversation, praising Qi Song's chaste and virtuous nature and the young Master Zhang's steady and reliable character, to break this awkward deadlock. But before I could get those cliché words out of my mouth, I looked up and suddenly saw these 2 young people who hadn't made a sound for ages were now both keeping their heads lowered tightly, averting their faces most unnaturally. The young man's awkwardness that spread red from his ears all the way to his neck, the young lady's shyness in her flowing glances. In that moment, it surpassed tens of thousands of gorgeous lines in this world. The Qi family's joyous occasion and their huge scandal arrived one right after the other. The betrothal gifts sent by the Zhang family had just been carried into the courtyard, and I hadn't had time to inventory and check the ledger yet, when I heard a little maid run over with a face full of gossip to report. That Wang Posey, who went with Qiyu to the back mountain at the incense gathering that day, had been pinned down on a long bench by Qi mother, and beaten a full 20 heavy strikes. Beaten so severely, she nearly died. I immediately sensed something was wrong, and hurried to Shuan Hall. As soon as I entered, I saw Qiyu kneeling on the ground with disheveled hair, crying so hard she could barely breathe, while Qi mother sat in the grand armchair with an ashen face, trembling all over with rage. "You shameless wretch! You tell me yourself. Who did you do such an outrageous and improper thing with at the incense gathering? I followed Chi Mother's gaze and looked incredulously at Chi Yu kneeling on the ground. It wasn't until this moment that I suddenly realized her waist, which had thickened by a whole size, wasn't from getting fat eating all those delicacies these past days. That was a visible pregnancy. Chi Yu at first still bit her lip stubbornly, sobbing and refusing to confess. But when she saw that Mother Chi's eyes had truly turned red with rage, and she grabbed a white silk ribbon to strangle her to preserve the Chi family's reputation, she finally became terrified and broke down crying. It is the Lai family. It is the sixth young master of the Lai Trading Company, Li Jin. Hearing this name, Mother Chi felt her vision go black and nearly fell from her chair. Do you have any idea what kind of low-life scumbag that sixth son of the Lai family is? He is a notorious wastrel playboy in the capital, a regular at brothels and red light districts. Forget about that useless sixth son of theirs. Even their eldest son who runs the family business would have to kneel outside our door and beg just to see your brother. You are the younger sister of a vice minister. How could you let someone so easily rue in your virtue like that? Not only did Chi Yu not reflect after hearing this, she actually felt extremely wronged and talked back loudly. You have the nerve to criticize me. Didn't you also become sworn sisters with that gift-bearing woman from the Lai family, and behind my brother's back accepted all that gold, silver, and jewelry from them? Li Jin told me that our two families would be united by marriage sooner or later. That is why I didn't guard against him. Shut your mouth. Mother Chi's face turned purple with rage, nearly choking on her breath. She suddenly looked up and saw me standing at the doorway watching coldly. Instantly, like a drowning person spotting a lifeline, she rushed over and grabbed my hand tightly. Shen Kuo mi, dear daughter-in-law, you've always been the most resourceful. Quickly think of a way to save your sister. I looked coldly at this greedy and foolish mother-daughter pair, pondered briefly, and laid out two options. Things have come to this. Right now there are only two paths ahead. Either I'll send someone outside the city to get the strongest abortion medicine, get rid of this child, and tell everyone outside that my sister had a sudden illness, or immediately have the Lai family bring betrothal gifts and come propose marriage. Turn this scandal into a joyous occasion. Mother Chi and Chi Yu quickly did their calculations below. Although the Lai family were merely lowly merchants, the Li Commerce House had been operating in the capital for many years with extremely abundant wealth. Moreover, now that the rice was already cooked, if they got rid of it and word got out, Chi Yu's reputation would be completely ruined anyway. Furthermore, Chi Chong was currently a powerful figure in the Ministry of Revenue, holding great authority. If Chi Yu was willing to condescend to marry down, wouldn't the Lai family be so grateful? They'd worship Chi Yu like a goddess of wealth in their inner quarters? However, this mother-daughter pair who thought themselves so clever, despite all their scheming and calculating, never expected one thing. The Li family's sixth young master, Li Jin, was actually a shameless scoundrel who wouldn't listen to reason. When Mother Chi and I formally paid a visit to the Li family to negotiate, the eldest lady of the Lai family's main household was a ruthless character who had struggled through the business world for many years. She was wary of Chi Chong's official position in her heart, but her outward etiquette was impeccable. She spoke respectfully and courteously at the banquet, wearing a smile everywhere, and praising Mother Chi to the heavens. But once Mother Chi took advantage, and started putting on airs as the minister's mother, even hinting that the Lai family must provide a huge betrothal gift before she would consent to the marriage. The eldest lady of the Li family picked up her teacup, smiled as warmly as a spring breeze, yet spoke words that stabbed straight into Mother Chi's lungs, like knives. Old madam, you speak most truly. That Lord Chi's own younger sister would deign to marry down into our Li family. We should indeed send out red invitations far and wide, and hold a grand, elaborate wedding. Only, it is a pity. Your sister's belly grows bigger by the day. I am afraid we can't wait for us to meticulously prepare such an extravagant wedding ceremony. That one light remark instantly punctured the Chi family's hypocritical pretense of propriety, stabbing Mother Chi like a pig's bladder that had been popped, instantly deflating all her confidence. And the instigator of it all, Li Jin, finished gnawing on a greasy roasted chicken, wiped his mouth in an extremely crude manner, his face completely indifferent. Since she could have an affair with me outside before getting married, who is to say she can't get entangled with someone else too? Who knows whose seed is really in that belly? This young master ain't gonna be the fool who takes the fall. Chi Mother was so infuriated by these extremely humiliating words that her whole body trembled, nearly fainting from anger. In the end, who knows what threats or bribes the first branch made to Li Jinwei behind the scenes? Or perhaps they promised him benefits from dividing the family fortune. That scoundrel finally rolled his eyes extremely reluctantly and barely nodded. Fine, fine, I'll marry her. But let's get the ugly truth out front. No matter who marries into my household, if she dares to stop me from going out drinking and having fun at brothels, I'll break her legs. Although Li Jin was extremely unwilling, the first branch of the Li family ultimately didn't dare to completely offend Chi Chong, who held the power over grain supply allocation at this critical juncture. That very afternoon, the Li family's betrothal gifts were carried into the Chi residence in a grand procession. The display was more than twice as lavish as the betrothal gifts the Zhang family had sent. The Li family's gift list had just been handed to me. Right at this moment, old Madame Ji happened to visit the residence, and I was preparing to personally see her out. Chi Yu, upon learning that the betrothal gifts had arrived, couldn't wait and ran to my room. She looked at the long betrothal gift list on the table, her eyeballs rolling around rapidly. Just like in her previous life, she bit her lip and began her masterful performance. Sister-in-law, you know, the Li family are merchants who value pomp and face above all else. If I marry down into their family like this, and the betrothal gifts aren't generous enough, I am afraid people will look down on me behind my back. Sister-in-law, you've always been resourceful. Could you negotiate with the Lai family's eldest lady again, and ask them to add more betrothal gifts? This time, I didn't soften like I did in my previous life. I hastily snatched up that gift list and locked it in the desk drawer, coldly and firmly refusing her. This is absolutely ridiculous. The amount on this gift list was finalized only after I checked it with the Lai family's eldest lady several times. The betrothal gifts they're giving are already twice as generous as those of ordinary prestigious families. We must not be insatiably greedy. Moreover, on the day you leave to marry, Mother will naturally use her private savings to add many generous items to your dowry, and will certainly not let you be unable to hold your head up in the Lai family. Sister, please stop worrying about such material things. With that said, I excused myself to see old Madame Ji out and turned to leave the main room. But at the instant I turned around, my peripheral vision keenly caught sight of Chi Yu quietly slipping over to the desk and opening with practiced ease the drawer that I had deliberately left unlocked. She not only took that gift list, but also stole my personal seal that I had placed next to the brush holder. I pulled old Madame Ji to the courtyard gate, deliberately slowing my speech, and chatted idly with her for a while, until Chi Yu tucked the tampered gift list into her sleeve and walked out of my room as if nothing had happened. Her face was full of smiles. Sister-in-law has worked hard entertaining guests today. I've already checked this list, so I'll go hand it over to the Lai family's managing woman waiting outside. In front of old Madame Ji, even purposely praised Chi Yu with eyes full of gratification. This girl, now that she is about to be married off, has really become much more sensible and considerate. The good show began even faster than I had imagined. Early the next morning, the eldest lady of the Lai family's main branch brought a group of managing women and stormed aggressively into the Chi manor. She sat in the guest seat, using her round fan to cover the cold sneer at the corner of her lips, but her eyes held not a trace of mirth, cold as a poisoned iron plate. I hear that Madame Chi finds the betrothal gifts our Lai family sent too meager, unworthy of your younger sister's status. Though our Li family comes from merchant origins, We still understand this much propriety, so naturally we should add more accordingly. It is just, to scrape together such an exorbitant bride price again, we'd need to sell off land and property for ready cash, which would take a tremendous amount of effort and time. I just don't know if your sister's belly that can't wait will still be able to wait for our Lai family's slow and meticulous work. Upon hearing this cold mockery, Mother Chi's anger flared up with a whoosh. She was just about to slam the table and start a shouting match with the Lai family's eldest lady. However, when that returned gift list on red paper, which had been revised and marked up again, was slammed down heavily before Mother Chi's eyes, Mother Chi was completely dumbfounded, her tongue beginning to tie itself in knots. What on earth is this? The original 1 chest of gold and silver had been forcibly changed to 10 chests. Zone box of pearls had been changed to 5 large boxes. All kinds of finest silks and satins, priceless antique, jewelry and hair ornaments. With just a few light strokes added to the rice paper, the total amount of the bride price instantly increased tenfold. Never mind marrying a chamberlain's own sister. Even if the current emperor were marrying a princess or taking a commandery princess as wife, this bride price would be more than sufficient. This was clearly outright robbery. What kind of shrewd person was the Lai family's eldest lady? Her sharp gaze swept around the room in a circle, seeing me sitting in the host seat, holding a teacup and leisurely skimming off the tea foam, completely calm and unruffled. She instantly guessed at the true nature of this farce in her heart. When Chiyu was hurriedly summoned by the maid, the moment she entered and caught sight of the elder lady of the Lai family's half. Smiling expression and my unwavering mountain-like seated posture, her heart skipped a beat and her eyes instantly reddened. After hearing Mother Chi's furious interrogation and the elder lady of the Li family's merciless mockery, Chiyu's shrewd eyes darted around quickly. Her knees went soft as she weakly threw herself into Mother Chi's arms and began her textbook. Level shirking of responsibility. Mother, please see clearly. You know how fierce and domineering sister-in-law usually is, and how absolutely authoritarian she is in managing the household. Even my brother, such an upright man, fears her somewhat. She personally put away the betrothal gift list in the drawer and personally sealed it with her private seal. I am just a younger sister-in-law who hasn't even married out yet. I don't even dare to say an extra word on normal days. How would I dare to tamper with her things? It must be that sister-in-law was greedy. The audacity! My blood is boiling! This mother-daughter pair are textbook, level parasitic vampires. They secretly stole the matriarch's seal, tampered with the betrothal gift list out of greed, and when their schemes were exposed, their first instinct was to throw the sister-in-law under the bus without hesitation. And they even viciously brought up excuses like sister-in-law is tyrannical, and even brother fears her to perfectly shirk responsibility. Isn't this classic gaslighting? In her previous life, Shenkuo swallowed this bitter, bloody humiliation for the sake of her sister-in-law's dignity and the Qi family's reputation, only to be met with hostility from the entire Zhang clan, and even worse behavior from the Qi mother and daughter. But in this life, Shenkuo has restarted at max level. She deliberately kept old Madame Ji, the most influential and highly respected witness in the capital's noble ladies' circle, present. Watch old Madame Ji tear apart this black-hearted lotus. It is absolutely satisfying. Karma comes around. Heaven spares no one. Just wait for the face. Slapping! The moment Chi-Yu uttered these utterly shameless words, the hall instantly fell into a deathly, eerie silence. Everyone present knew the truth clear as day. Who didn't know that Chi-Chong recently moved out of the main house for that pregnant mistress outside, making Madame Chi so furious she claimed illness and refused to come out. And now this sister-in-law still had the nerve to say the matriarch rules the household with absolute authority? I sat in the armchair, facing this torrent of dirty water poured over my head, without a single word of unnecessary defense. I merely pulled out my handkerchief at the right moment, covered my mouth and coughed twice in an extremely weak manner, my eyes full of self-reproach and chagrin. What should we do about this? I've indeed been personally handling and checking the betrothal gift lists for both younger sisters. But for some reason, specifically the list sent to the Lai family for younger sister Yur, ended up with such an absurd mistake. It is really because I caught a cold recently and have been so sick that my mind got muddled, and I failed to check carefully. As soon as Mother Chi heard me voluntarily confess my guilt, her arrogant flames instantly skyrocketed. She abruptly stood up, pointed at my nose, and was about to curse me out for mistreating my younger sister and being insatiably greedy when, outside the door, a vigorous and extremely cold laugh suddenly rang out. "How dare you, Shen Kuo! You are feverish and confused from illness. But does that mean this old bag of bones like me has also gone senile along with you?" Before the words even finished, old Madame G, supported by a Momo, stepped over the threshold with an imposing aura like rolling thunder. She didn't even glance at the Lai family's main branch sitting to the side, much less paid any attention to the furious Mother Chi. She sat down properly and formally in the seat of honor. Then, those extremely sharp old eyes that seemed capable of seeing through people's hearts coldly glanced at Chi Yu, who was still kneeling in Mother Chi's arms pretending to be pitiful. That original gift list, this old body sat side by side with your sister-in-law yesterday, carefully examining it word by word, sentence by sentence. The value was extremely substantial, not a cent off. How is it that after being taken from your sister-in-law's drawer, passing through the hands of you, Miss Chiine, delivered to Madame Li, the amount inexplicably increased tenfold? Could it be that the ink on this paper became sentient and spawned offspring on its own? Chi Yu was instantly stripped bare by these barrage of questions. She was so embarrassed her face turned bloodless, her lips trembling, yet she still refused to give up and argued in a low voice. I didn't alter it. It must have been sister-in-law behind the scenes. In her youth, old Madame G was the mistress in charge of managing the entire G household of nearly 100 people. What kind of lowly schemes and filthy calculations in these deep estate courtyards had she not seen? She suddenly slapped the rosewood table and roared. "How dare you still try to slander your sister-in-law at this point? Your sister-in-law has a heart as kind as a bodhisattva. Yesterday she begged this old lady to hold back, precisely to cover up for you in front of the Lai family, regarding this disgraceful matter of tampering with the gift list. Otherwise, if this had been exposed directly, with you showing up at your in-law's place with a big belly, how would you be able to hold your head up high in the future? This old lady originally had no interest in getting involved in such messy family affairs of yours. It was your sister-in-law who kept pulling at my sleeve and begging me, saying that both her biological younger sisters were getting married, and if I, an official family's old lady with an imperial title, personally saw them off and served as a witness of complete fortune, it would not only give them great face but also earn them respect and honor at their in-laws' homes. Your sister-in-law has been thinking of you, this ungrateful wretch, in every single matter, putting her heart and soul into planning for you. But what about you? How have you repaid her kindness with enmity?" The scene instantly became extremely awkward. Mother Chi and Chi Yu, scolded like two defeated dogs fallen into water, their faces turning from green to white, couldn't squeeze out a single word for a long while. Having witnessed such a fair conclusion, and also to give face to old Madame G and Shen Kuo, the Li family's main branch, being extremely shrewd, knew when to quit while ahead and left with that tampered fake list in hand. The extremely intimidating aura of the Lai family's main house completely shattered Chi Yu's courage. She clutched at her mother's hem, crying with snot and tears streaming down her face. "Mother, the eldest lady of the Lai family must know everything now. What am I going to do when I marry over there?" Mother Chi was still protective of her child after all. She pulled Chi Yu tightly into her arms and comforted her guiltily. What is there to be afraid of? Even if she knows in her heart, as long as we haven't torn off the facade, she won't dare do anything to you. Don't forget, you have your own brother backing you up. As long as your brother is in the Ministry of Revenue for even one day, the entire Eli family clan will have to treat you like a living Buddha, serving you with utmost care. Hearing the name Brother Chi Chong, Chi-Yu's heart that had been hanging in her throat finally settled down like she had taken a reassurance pill. That is right. She still had a brother who was a high-ranking official. In this household, as long as her brother, this great mountain, didn't fall, no one would dare bully her. Finally, the day arrived for the Chi family to marry off their daughter. The weather was favorable, a beautiful sunny day with gentle breezes. I knew that Chi Song and the young master of the Zhang family were both elegant people with ink in their bellies who loved reading. So, in addition to the precious jewelry father sent, I deliberately added to Chi Song's dowry chests generous amounts of the finest scholars' four treasures, along with several rare solitary manuscripts and antique calligraphy and paintings from the Shen family's private collection. Chi Song sat before the vanity as the threading woman removed all the fine hair from her face. She stood up, holding that exquisitely crafted mahogany comb with both hands, and solemnly presented it before me. According to the customs of the great Qing dynasty, the person who combs and threads the bride's hair on the wedding day must be a completely blessed elder with both sons and daughters, living parents-in-law, and a harmonious marriage to bring good omens. I looked at that comb, smiled bitterly, and shook my head, reaching out to push it back. Dear sister, I am not a person blessed with good fortune and complete happiness. How could I be qualified to comb your hair? Thinking back on my past and present lives, my relationships with those beside my pillow were all filled with mutual scheming and irreconcilable enmity. For someone like me with hands stained by schemes to comb her hair would truly be inauspicious. Chi Song had always been gentle and obedient by nature, but today she was as stubborn as a little calf. With reddened eyes, she grabbed my hand and forcefully stuffed that wooden comb into my palm, gripping it tightly. Sister-in-law, in my heart, you are the most blessed and the best person in this world. It must be you. If you don't comb my hair today, I'll never leave this courtyard for the rest of my life. I looked at this sister who had once come to express gratitude under the scorching sun in the blazing summer, carefully held an umbrella for me in the freezing snow, and kept me company doing needlework and chatting under dim lamplight. Me heart was filled with bitterness and reluctance. I picked up the comb and slowly brushed it through her silky black hair, my voice choking up a bit. Good sister, remember this. From now on at the Zhang household, if he dares to bully you even a little, you absolutely must not endure it and wrong yourself like you did at the Chi family. Your sister-in-law will always stand on your side, always be the confidence backing you up. Outside the door, the firecrackers urging the bride's departure were deafening. Before Chi Song covered herself with the red mandarin duck bridal veil, she suddenly turned around. In front of a courtyard full of guests and servants, she properly knelt on both knees and kowtowed 3 solid times to me. When she lifted her head, tears were already streaming down her face. Chi Song lost both father and mother at a young age. Living dependent on others in this world, I've long since grown accustomed to the coldness of human nature and the harshness of society. If it weren't for sister-in-law's kind heart and generous treatment of me, protecting me at every turn, I truly don't know how I could have endured through those bitter days to see the light. The red bridal sedan was steadily lifted up, and accompanied by the festive music, gradually moved farther away. Good girl, may you and your husband live in harmony. May your path ahead be smooth and broad. May you meet only good people in this life, safe and sound. Please, please don't be like me, giving your life to the wrong person. After sending off Chi Song, the Chi family had only a few peaceful days before disaster struck. I actually predicted long ago that the Chi family would fall. I just never imagined that this dilapidated building riddled with holes gnawed by termites would collapse so swiftly and catastrophically. First, the batch of military provisions for the front lines that Chi Chong personally oversaw and handled, exclusively supplied by the Li Trading Company, had a massive screw. Up, Samenone. Who knows who actually submitted an extremely detailed signed accusatory memorial directly during morning court, intercepting on the spot those provisions that were ready to be transported to the border, nearly all of which had already become moldy, spoiled, and poisonous. Upon hearing that the court not only withheld military pay, but was even going to make the soldiers eat this kind of rotten toxic grain, the troops fighting bloodily on the front lines were furious and nearly mutinied and rebelled on the spot. You have to understand, General Zhao, who led troops in deadly battle on the front lines, and Prince Kang, who controlled everything with one hand in the capital, had always maintained a delicate relationship of mutual wariness, staying out of each other's way. But this batch of spoiled provisions directly shattered the precarious balance between the two. To quell the military's fury, memorials impeaching Qi Chong and Prince Kang flew into the little emperor's imperial study like wildly dancing snowflakes. To protect himself, Prince Kang sent shadow guards overnight to kill Qi Chong and silence him, while the little emperor on the throne also urgently needed to take Qi Chong's head to quiet the wagging tongues throughout the realm. Qi Chong braved the pouring rain, fleeing home in a wretched state like a stray dog. Soaked to the bone, he clutched desperately at my sleeve as if grasping the last lifeline in the world. "A quo! You understand the court situation best. Only you know that I never did those corrupt and illegal deeds for Prince Kang. Those grain supplies sent to the front lines. I personally inspected every single cart in the wind and snow before approving them. Every batch was top-quality aged grain. There is absolutely no way it could have gone moldy. Someone is trying to frame me. A quo, we're husband and wife, bound together in honor and disgrace. You must find a way to save my life." I coldly brushed away his trembling hands. Then, I slowly drew from my sleeve a divorce agreement I had already written and stamped with my fingerprint. Handed it to him, my expression calm as still water. "Sign it. I have a plan that can save your head." With things so desperately urgent, teetering on the edge of the cliff, Qi Chong couldn't care less about marital affection or dignity. Without even reading the contents carefully, he grabbed the brush and signed his name with a shaking hand. I carefully folded that document of newfound freedom and tucked it close to my body, inside my sleeve. "You go to the palace right now and tearfully confess your crimes before His Majesty. Say that you were momentarily confused, greedy for huge profits, and that is why you abused your power for personal gain, forcing the Lai family to pass off inferior goods as quality ones. The Lai family was also forced to comply due to your official authority, and had no choice. As long as you take all the blame upon yourself, Prince Kang will see that you haven't implicated him and naturally won't send assassins after you. And His Majesty won't have to completely offend Prince Kang, who controls significant military forces. At this critical juncture, while also being able to use your confession to give a perfect explanation to all the officials in court and the soldiers at the front lines." After hearing this, Qi Chong's eyes were filled with extreme shock and disbelief. But I never received even half a cent in bribes from the Lai family. Why should I alone bear this death sentence for the rotten grain sent by the Lai family? Why can't we just push the Lai family out as the scapegoat instead? As soon as the words receiving bribes from the Lai family were mentioned, I slightly turned my head and very deliberately glanced at Lady Qi, who was hiding behind the doorframe with a face full of panic and guilt. Qi Chong followed my gaze, his eyes locked firmly onto Lady Qi's withered hands, originally rough, but now adorned with top-grade imperial green, jade bracelets and pigeon blood ruby rings. He was completely thunderstruck, his voice trembling uncontrollably as he asked in disbelief, "Mother, what exactly have you done behind my back?" Mother Qi was so frightened by her son's man-eating glare that she repeatedly stepped back, stammering out excuses. This is just normal exchanges between in-laws after your sister got married." How could this be considered bribery?" Qi Chong was so angry that a sharp pain shot through his chest, nearly coughing up a mouthful of dark blood on the spot. "Just how much money and goods have you taken from the Ai family behind my back?" If you really calculated it, it indeed wasn't much. Top quality Eastern pearls, priceless white fox fur coats, supreme imperial green jadeite, boxes of pure gold ingots, plus a full 3,000 taels of snowflake, patterned silver. Besides these real gold and silver that could be immediately converted to cash, in Mother Chi's storeroom, they also confiscated half a room full of top-grade abalone sea cucumber, shark fin, and fish maw, all moldy and infested with bugs because she couldn't bear to eat them. Chi-Chong stared blankly at those expensive dried goods crawling with disgusting maggots, his entire being seeming as if his soul had been ripped away. Suddenly, he threw his head back and let out an extremely deranged, shrill, miserable laugh. Mother Chi was completely terrified by her son's crazed appearance. She dropped to her knees with a thud, slapping her own face hard from both sides, crying bitterly, "My son, it is all because your mother was old and foolish. It is because your mother had never seen the world and was possessed. Let's return everything. None of this stuff has been touched. We'll return it all to the Lai family with interest. It is all their fault. It has nothing to do with you. They deliberately set a trap to bribe me." Just as Mother Chi was frantically scrambling to gather up all that incriminating evidence, the head steward of the Lai family, like the black and white impermanence coming to claim a life, sent someone to deliver a great gift. It was a thick stack of account books, detailed records with signatures of all the extremely expensive gifts the Li family had continuously sent to Mother Chi over the past 6 months or so, as well as that astronomical betrothal gift list that Chi-Yu had personally stolen and altered, so extravagant it made the entire capital gasp. And at the very bottom of that stack of death warrants, there was also a thin sheet of rice paper. It was a pregnancy consultation record about Chi-Yu, personally written by the director of the Imperial Medical Bureau. The pregnant woman's fetus is large, and the mother is weak, showing signs of difficult labor, must avoid great sorrow and fright at all costs. In that moment, Chi-Chong seemed to have all his life force drained away, aging a full 10 years overnight. At the roots of his hair, shockingly bright white hairs had miraculously sprouted here and there. Like a puddle of mud, he slumped down dejectedly onto the floor strewn with mess. He had no way out. If he cried injustice to the emperor, saying the Lai family coerced and bribed him into a frame-up, then the entire Lai family clan along with his own little sister Chi-Yu, who had just married into the family and was pregnant, would all face the death penalty for annihilation. He himself wouldn't escape punishment for poor judgment and lax family management either. If he reported to the emperor that all of this was masterminded and orchestrated by Prince Kang behind the scenes, then the still, fledgling young emperor might not dare to truly move against Prince Kang at this time. Instead, he would be assassinated in the heavenly prison by Prince Kang's top-tier assassins the very night before going to the palace to report, dying under mysterious circumstances. The only way out before him was to follow the path I pointed out, to take all the blame for this monstrous crime of embezzling military provisions and substituting inferior goods upon himself alone. Perhaps the young emperor, considering that he voluntarily confessed and quelled the military's anger, would feel a shred of compassion, sentencing him to stripping of his official rank and confiscation of all family assets, but leaving him a wretched life to cling to. Actually, I believe that with Chi-Chong's shrewdness, he would never be foolish enough to embezzle life, saving military provisions for the front lines. I also believe that batch of grain sent to the border, he really did inspect cart by cart in the wind and snow. Me original plan was to use Meng Yan this top-notch spy to firmly bind Chi-Chong and Prince Kang together on the same boat, so that later, when Prince Kang raised troops in rebellion and fell from power, Chi-Chong would also be liquidated along with his 9 generations of kin as a traitorous subject. However, I never expected that in this treacherous and unpredictable imperial court some master strategist, I don't know who, had already laid out this shocking death trap one step ahead of me, wanting to take Chi-Chong's life. After the incident, the Chi family became as quiet as the sea surface before a storm. So oppressive it was suffocating. The sky was dark and heavy, and outside a drizzling, chilly spring rain began to fall. The young servant watching the gate below ran tremblingly to my courtyard to report. "Mistress, outside someone from the Shen family has come. They say they've come to take you home." The one who came wasn't one of those fair weather relatives from the Shen family's collateral branches. It was my biological father. Father held in his hands the light pink fleece cloak I used to wear often at home before I was married. With eyes full of heartache, he walked up to me and personally draped it over me, carefully tying the silk ribbons at the collar. Walking out of that unlucky gate of the Chi family, the shops on both sides of the long street had already hung up lanterns to shelter from the rain. That warm, dim yellow lamplight, in the fine spring rain, blurred into clusters of gentle mist. Father personally held up that big oiled paper umbrella for me. Looking at this familiar street scene, his eyes moistened as he recalled events from many years ago. "Akuo, do you still remember this Juke Street? Back then you were only 6 years old, and your mother was still alive. She loved to come to the rouge shop at the east end of this street to buy cosmetics. And you, little glutton, loved eating the freshly baked sesame flatbreads at the west end of the street. Every time we went out, Father would hold you high in one arm and tightly hold your mother's hand with the other. Our family of 3 would just walk slowly down this street like that, until it got dark. Later your mother got sick and passed away. Father is getting old now, and still often dreams late at night that our family is still walking down this street together. Just finished watching this family's extremely brutal passing the Bukshura field, and turning around, I see the old father holding an umbrella, personally picking up his injured daughter to bring her home in the cold spring rain. This kind of extreme contrast between coldness and warmth really has such lethal power. The Chi family schemed everything, treating Shen Kuo as a free high-level PR manager, a bottomless ATM, and a shield to block disasters. When something goes wrong, they only blame all the mistakes on her. But in Father's eyes, even if his daughter was criticized by all of the capital as a shrew, even if she received divorce papers and became a discarded woman in the eyes of society, she was still that fragile little girl who would hide in a corner and cry over breaking a porcelain plate. She was the apple of his eye that he would always open his big umbrella for and protect with all his might. This is true love. This is what truly unconditional love is. Girls, never waste your precious life and tears on those who belittle you and use you. Because in the eyes of those who truly love you, you will always be the one and only priceless treasure in this world. Father's words, whether 8 or 80 years old, a quo will always be Father's treasure, really hit my tear ducts directly and made me cry. I didn't want to shed tears in front of Father and make the old man sad, so I forced out a smile and hastily changed the subject. Why did Father suddenly think of coming to the Chi family to pick me up today? Could it be that you've already bought those freshly baked sesame flatbreads from the West End and are waiting for me to come home and eat them? Father shook his head with a bitter smile, the corners of his eyes full of deep exhaustion and lingering fear. Father is getting old. I used to always dream of your mother, but recently, for several nights in a row, I kept dreaming of you instead. I dreamed that my Akua was in that dilapidated woodshed, sick and on the verge of death. I dreamed that the whole nest of heartless wolves in the Chi family were finding ways to bully you, and you kept crying in the darkness. But in the dream, your father was locked behind an iron door, unable to do anything, could only watch helplessly as you suffered, my heart burning with anxiety. After waking up, your father immediately sent people to make arrangements, wanting to forcibly bring you back home. But just a few days later, I heard people outside saying that you actually took the initiative to bring a concubine from Prince Kang's mansion for that wolf cub Chi Chong. Your father thought it over. Our Akuo has been extremely smart since childhood. For you to do this, you must have your own grand strategy and plan in mind. If your father acts rashly, it would only disrupt your position and cause you trouble. Hearing these words from my father, my nose suddenly stung with sourness. That iron-hard disguise instantly crumbled, violently stirring up the deepest and most miserable matters of my heart from my previous life. In my last life, when I was locked away by the Qi family, like discarded trash in that lightless woodshed, sick to the point of having only one breath left, that beast Qi Chong, wearing brand new red official robes, walked up to me and told me in the cruelest tone. Father was gone. He had been angered to death by a serious illness, caused by me, his divorced and disgraced daughter. I bit down hard on my lower lip, lowered my head, forcefully holding back the scalding tears that were about to burst out, and asked with a trembling voice, "Father, if Akuo gets kicked out with a letter of divorce from her husband's family for being unvirtuous and intolerant, you wouldn't be angry with me, wouldn't feel ashamed or disgraced that the Shen family has a daughter with a damaged reputation, would you?" After hearing these words, Father was slightly stunned at first, then remembering past amusing incidents laughed extremely heartily. This question 8-year-old Akuo already asked Father once with reddened eyes. At that time, you stood on tiptoes to reach for the pastries on the offering table, and accidentally broke Father's most treasured roux kiln celadon plate in his study. You were so scared you hid under the table crying the whole time, thinking Father would never like you, this little troublemaker anymore. Father pulled you out from under the table back then, and told you what? Father said, "Those lifeless celadon plates are not Father's treasures at all. Whether you are 8 years old or 80 years old, whether you are a talented woman renowned throughout the capital, or someone being gossiped about for being divorced, you, Akuo, will always be Father's most precious treasure." The spring rain fell harder and harder. Father's heart was biased, so the oiled paper umbrella in Father's hand was also biased. All the hurtful storms in this world were steadily deflected by that tilting umbrella, falling instead upon Father's shoulders, not broad yet more than enough to hold up the entire sky for me. Half a year after Qi Chong was imprisoned in the Supreme Court's maximum security prison, the political landscape underwent earth-shattering changes. The immensely powerful Prince Kang, after being summoned alone by the young emperor to the palace for a private discussion, unexpectedly died suddenly in the imperial study. Along with him, all his trusted confidants and faction members in the court were swiftly executed and purged without exception. The night before Qi Chong's execution, the minister of the Supreme Court made an accommodation, saying he wanted to see me one last time. Husband and wife for a time, he had many unresolved knots in his heart that he wanted to ask me about face to face. Inside the prison, everything was damp, cold, and dim. By the weak light of torches on the wall, he saw Qi Chong slumped in a pile of dry straw. He had already been tormented beyond recognition by half a year of imprisonment. So thin his cheeks were sunken, practically nothing but a bag of bones. I understood him too well. I knew that at this moment, as his life reached its end, what weighed most heavily on his heart was still that Mengyan who had let him taste the feeling of controlling power. Through the thick iron bars, I quietly looked at him. On the day Prince Kang died suddenly, Mengyan drank poisoned wine at the villa and followed her true master in death. As for that child you've been so worried about, you don't need to concern yourself anymore. From beginning to end, she was never pregnant with your child. That abortion remedy was just a play I taught her to act out. I once tried to persuade Mengyan. He told her that the young emperor was ultimately biding his time, and sooner or later would fully take control of the government. And the arrogant and domineering Prince Kang was nothing more than a grasshopper after autumn, at the end of his rope. But she smiled sadly and told me, Prince Kang had shown grace in raising and keeping alive orphaned girls like them, a kindness equal to a second father who gave them life. In this lifetime she was willing to pledge her life in loyalty to him. She voluntarily stayed by the side of Qi Chong. This poor scholar, enduring those strict rules and regulations, it was only to gather intelligence from the imperial court for the prince, always preparing and waiting for the day when the prince would truly use her life to fill a gap in his schemes. What surprised me somewhat was that, upon hearing this extremely cruel truth, Qi Chong's haggard face did not show much shock or pain. During this past half year, I've been thinking about it day and night in this prison, and actually figured it out long ago. During the half-year of being imprisoned in this jail, that endless darkness and deathly silence were enough for him to calm down after falling from the clouds, and think through clearly all those details that had been obscured by arrogance and conceit. He paused, then asked in a hoarse voice, "Mother, and the Chi family was raided, and their estate confiscated." Chi's mother, struck by rage and anxiety, fell gravely ill. Now she has completely lost her mind, surviving day by day in a run-down temple outside the city by fighting for gruel at the soup kitchen. After you were imprisoned, the Li family completely turned their backs. The main branch mistreated Chi, who was already weak from severe postpartum hemorrhaging, and that Li Jin, utterly promiscuous by nature, took advantage of Chi's postpartum confinement to take in two more extremely shrewd and vicious courtesans as concubines, who come to her courtyard every day to lord over her. The mother and daughter now are merely languishing in this sea of suffering, enduring each day while waiting for release. Chi Chong closed his bloodshot eyes, two streams of murky tears flowing down his sunken eye sockets. Shen Kuo, I've lost. I just want to die understanding clearly. Of all this, which parts did you personally orchestrate behind the scenes? I looked at this man who drove me to my death in my previous life, my eyes showing no pity, only a cold statement of facts. I went with the flow and orchestrated this deeply devoted entanglement between you and Meng Yan, cementing your reputation as a traitor's accomplice in the eyes of others, and even the young emperor. I deliberately claimed illness and relinquished power, hinting at and enabling the Lai family to feed your mother's bottomless pit of greed, so that at the moment of life and death, you'd be stabbed in the back with the most fatal blow by the family member you trusted most. I paused, looking at his eyes that instantly widened, my voice cold to the extreme. As for that batch of moldy provisions that vanished into thin air halfway, and got you thrown in prison unjustly, it was my father who mobilized all of the Shen family's secret operatives throughout Jiangsu and Zhejiang, orchestrating a classic bait and switch, a deadly trap designed to replace the beams and pillars. Half a month before you received the provisions, my father had someone deliver a top-secret letter to the young emperor who was biding his time, ready to strike. The letter stated bluntly, "There is a brilliant scheme that can paralyze the ambitious Prince Kang, legitimately win over General Zhao, who commands a large army, and further incite the people's fury across the land, setting the stage for eradicating the rebellious faction later. And for such an astounding benefit that kills 3 birds with 1 stone, the price His Majesty needs to pay is minimal. He only needs to punish in court a vice minister of revenue with unclear loyalties who, in his cleverness to climb the ladder, acted on his own." Chi Chong. I stared directly into Chi Chong's eyes filled with despair and fear, my expression calm as still water, as if recounting someone else's story. "So, you see, from beginning to end, on the surface, I never harmed you in the slightest. In others' eyes, I was merely jealous of Meng Yan's young and beautiful appearance, jealous that she easily took away your affection. I kept quarreling with you, deliberately using my reputation to threaten you into signing the divorce papers. Everyone thought I was just a petty woman throwing a tantrum at you in the inner quarters. Otherwise, as an outsider with no ties to you now, I wouldn't be risking coming here to see you this one last time. However, now that I am in this prison, I've carefully thought things through for you. Most likely, in this game of chess, the ones who truly want to remove you are none other than Prince Kang and His Majesty, the Emperor. Because you cleverly thought you could accept the beauty sent by the prince, yet played Tai Chi with his attempts to win you over in court, ignoring them completely. You thought you could navigate smoothly between imperial power and undercurrents, pleasing both sides. In reality, you've long since thoroughly offended both His Majesty and the prince. Chi Chong, you never needed to lose so crystal clear in this dead end. I suspect that my answer, sharp as a bone-cutting knife, has probably been painfully played out thousands upon thousands of times in Chi Chong's suspicious heart over these past 6 months. He completely broke down. He collapsed despairingly against the moss-covered corner, covering his face with both hands, letting out an extremely mournful and crazed wail, tears mixed with filth flowing down. Just because of this kind of suspicion from those in power, I should bear all of this. Can His Majesty not see how I've exhausted my heart and blood over the Ministry of Revenue's accounts all these years? Does he not know my unwavering loyalty, my world-shaking talent? I should have had a smooth official career. I should have been enfoffed as a marquis and appointed as prime minister, reaching the pinnacle of ministerial power. Why did I study diligently by the cold window for 10 years, only to end up with such a fate of my entire family being destroyed, and my reputation ruined? That is not it, Chi Chong. From the moment I was reborn and opened my eyes in the woodshed, during countless sleepless black nights, I have countless times calmly deduced the trajectory of your extremely pathetic fate. If at the banquet, you had firmly refused the concubine sent by Prince Kang, you would have been severely injured and killed by those hooligans. In a dark alley 10 days later, if you had happily accepted the concubine Prince Kang sent you and reveled in it, you would have later completely drowned in the gentle trap woven for you by the prince's mansion, becoming fish meat on their chopping board, because in your bones, you are a selfish, petty person who burns bridges and is heartless and ungrateful. Because your shallow-minded mother is never satisfied with her greed. Because your spoiled sister doesn't know what is good for her and constantly stirs up trouble. If at some node in a parallel space-time, the gears of fate were forcibly set right, back to that day of our first meeting under the peach blossom tree at Pilu Temple all those years ago, you had never met that Shen Kuo who was willing to give everything for you. You would understand with extreme cruelty. In this great Qing dynasty's world, there has never been a shortage of poor scholars full of poetry and books yet wronged, and down on their luck, talented but unrecognized. The unwavering loyalty you were so proud of in your past life, the extraordinary talent you took such pride in, and that seemingly divinely blessed smooth official career of yours. In reality, they were nothing more than you cowering weakly behind me, stepping on my reputation and blood, following along with me, and just barely dodging one required lesson after another that fate had arranged for you. When you completely lost me, the protective umbrella shielding you from wind and rain, and had to face this unfathomable world directly, you could only be crushed to pieces in this quagmire. Dawn was breaking, and the distant sound of the night watch drum echoed dully. I smoothed my skirt, stood up, didn't look again at that despairing figure huddled in the corner, and turned to leave the prison. The capital had seen several stretches of extremely fine spring rain, and spring was already drawing to a close. Walking out of the tall vermilion walls of the Court of Judicial Review, the peach blossoms by the roadside had been beaten down by wind and rain, carpeting the bluestone pavement with a ground full of desolate red. On the branches, green and tender apricots were already faintly forming. A few carefree birds chirped and sang on the branches, hopping about among the leaves washed emerald green by the rain, picking and choosing as they searched for early rising worms. This scene was just like that year when I was 15, my first meeting with Chi Chong under the peach blossom tree at Pilu Temple. What a pity! Back then, with eyes blindfolded, I sought a true heart in this filthy world. In the end, after biting through and tasting it all, my mouth was filled with nothing but gut-wrenching bitter fruit. The end. Where is the applause? I wonder how you all felt after reading that last passage. When Vera was studying sociology in the US before, I learned 2 extremely precise terms called invisible labor and emotional labor. In that extremely depressing marriage from her previous life, Shen Kuo shouldered all of Chi Chong's social and PR crises in his official career, dealt with all the chaotic family conflicts, and even single-handedly took on fatal political risks. She did all the dirty and exhausting work that offended people and drew criticism, leaving all the noble integrity, glory, and innocence to that hypocrite Chi Chong. And what about Chi-chong? He enjoyed all these paved benefits with a clear conscience, yet was so conceited that he thought, this is all thanks to my own exceptional talent and official career success. In the end, he turned around and accused the female lead of being jealous. Vulgar, worldly, with an extremely contemptuous attitude. That line, "You merely hid behind me, skipping class after class from fate," really kills me. Every word pierces the heart. Girls, never be that perfect tool, person silently giving from behind a man in any relationship, expecting nothing in return. Your brilliant intellect, your decisive strategies, should be used to achieve greatness for yourself in the vast world, not to painstakingly prop up a coward who doesn't even dare face hardships, and only hides behind you scheming against you. Shen Kuo's revenge methods after rebirth are extremely sophisticated. She didn't make a fuss like a resentful woman. She simply calmly withdrew her exclusive protective umbrella, letting Chi-chong directly face what he should have faced all along. The darkness of human nature, his greedy and insufferable family members, and the unfathomably complex official circles. The result, he immediately showed his true colors, suffered a crushing defeat, and was completely disgraced. This is the cruelest revenge in the world, letting him see with his own eyes that without your brilliance, he is nothing but an ant who can't even protect himself. The main story ends here completely, but I know you are definitely frantically pounding your keyboards in front of the screen shouting, "It is not enough." If the author decides to write extra chapters in the future, what kind of wild plot developments would you most want to see? Come pick the one that excites you most. Shen Kuo's career. Building solo roots, ultimate girl boss power fantasy. After leaving behind her scumbag ex's mess, Shen Kuo travels the world with her father, engaging in business and politics. With her terrifyingly brilliant political mind and unparalleled strategies, she becomes the #1 female strategist in the realm, making those capital elites who once mocked and looked down on her unable to reach her level, begging on their knees for her to come out of retirement. B. Chi-song's mutual devotion post. Marriage, daily life extremely warm and healing. I really want to see Chi-song, the only clear-headed and sensible good sister in the whole show. Want to see how after she marries into glory with that stuffy but extremely sincere and devoted young master of the Zhang family. The two of them have super sweet post-marriage daily life in their upright and scholarly household. Falling in love after marriage, her keeping him company while he studies, mutually redeeming each other. I need this sweetness. The Chi family mother and daughter's exile humiliation chronicles ultimate karmic retributions. Evil people get what is coming to them. Want to see the greedy and short-sighted mother Chi, and the pretentious drama queen Chi-yu with her high standards but low abilities. After losing Chi-chong, their only backer, watch the live broadcast of how they're repeatedly tormented to the point of wishing for death, and turning on each other by those vicious concubines in that scoundrel Legion's household. As miserable as it gets. Di Mengyan from a parallel universe is strong, but tragic unresolved feelings roots. If she hadn't met that scheming man, would the smart, decisive, and proud undercover agent Mengyan have had a completely different ending? Want to see an if route where Mengyan is reborn into a peaceful and prosperous Jianggu, not working for anyone, becoming a free-spirited swordswoman wandering the world? Which route resonates with you the most? Drop your choice in the comments, and let Vera see your enthusiasm. If you enjoyed today's incredibly satisfying revenge story, don't forget to give Vera the triple combo support. Love y'all besties, see you in the next exciting story. Don't miss it.